I was done by that time.
A couple of years ago.
I tell you.
We'll check back 6 months.
Yeah, I was about to say.
If you were,
Get 6 months.
I just thank God.
I think you made it on time this time.
What do you say?
You made it on time, you ready to gavel this meeting.
Okay. Gotcha.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call the November meeting of the Edgecombe County Commissioners to order. Mr. Evans, safety instructions, please.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Good evening to everyone. I'd like to invite Ms. Natalie Best, our Deputy County Manager, to come up and give us our safety instructions.
Good evening. To provide for the safety of those attending this meeting, please listen to the following instructions in case of an emergency. First, please take a moment to note where your exits are. If an emergency arises that prompts us to evacuate, I ask that everyone exit this room in a quick and orderly manner through one of the 2 exterior doors, one to your right. Once you exit the building, we ask that you safely cross Granville Street to our parking lot to be safely away from the building. Our staff will provide additional direction and assistance. In the case of a tornado warning, we ask that you exit this room into the hallway where we will all remain until it is safe to exit. In the event of an active shooter, we ask that you run if there is an accessible escape path and try to evacuate the premises, hide if you can evacuate, and find a place to hide where you are less likely to be found, and lock any doors that you can. And finally, as a last resort, fight, and only if your life is in imminent danger. Our staff will continue to provide additional direction and assistance on what to do. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Reverend Hines, prayer, please.
Eternal God, our Father, we give thanks for this day. We thank you for your life that you've given us, and we ask that you bless us to be sensible to the needs of our community. Help us to make the right decision that makes our county a better place in which to live. Through Christ our Lord, we do pray. Amen.
Amen.
You have in your agenda package the minutes from your previous meeting. If there are no additions or corrections, your motion.
So moved.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the vote sign aye. Aye. All opposed? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. Next agenda item, a public hearing is called to order relative to the community block grant neighborhood revitalization application. The public hearing is called to order. Mr. Peters, would you please read the public notice?
Yes, sir. On November 6, 2023, at 7 p.m. in the Jonathan Felton Commissioner's Room in the Edgecombe County Administrative Building, the Edgecombe County Board of Commissioners will conduct a public hearing to receive comments on a proposed application for CDBG-NR funding for housing improvements within Edgecombe County. The county intends to request $950,000 to rehabilitate/reconstruct owner-occupied low to moderate income homes. The public is invited to provide comments. The county will respond to all written comments within 10 calendar days, encourages comments, and will make good faith efforts to involve historically underutilized businesses and Section 3 individuals and businesses in execution of the program. Persons with disabilities or who otherwise need assistance should contact the person listed below at least 1 day in advance of the hearing. Accommodation will be made for all who request assistance with participating in the public hearing. This information is available in Spanish or any other language upon request. Please contact the individual listed below to accommodate this request.
Mr. Evans, comments?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. We have a representative here tonight from McDavid and Associates who's working with Ms. Braswell and I and her team on preparing this application. So I'll ask him to come forward. He's going to give an overview of the application we're going to submit. While he's coming, I'll let you know that there will be 2 actions we'll ask that you take tonight. The first being to approve a citizens participation plan
which a copy of that is at your place. You've seen this before. It talks about the ways that we will inform our citizens about this program, which includes the public hearing that we're having tonight. Also, pending any public comment and your questions, I ask that you will, in a separate action, adopt the resolution that's presented as well that will authorize us to submit this application. So,
Evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is H. Mandigo, working with David Associates. Like they said, the Edgecombe County will be applying for a $950,000 grant. That'll be aimed to assist LMI homeowners. The Housing Committee was collected together and met and ranked the eligible applicants. The beneficiaries that were selected was from a total of 136 applicants. That the top 6 were ranked, and that was based upon a reconstruction level of assistance that would be needed to the homes. So there was top 6 there, and then the plan is projected to have 4 homes reconstructed and 2 more to have as standby units in case if there was any issues with the top 4 being able to receive assistance. And then I would ask that we would be able to approve the citizens participation plan and to approve the resolution. I can read the resolution if needed.
You can do this if you want to, but we got it. Any comments or questions?
I have my question.
Go ahead.
You said there were 136 applicants.
Yes.
Were these applications from the past, or they've just been collected?
Yes, so the city of, Edgecombe County has homeowners that call in, and they have kept a good record over the last 2 years. And those are normally aimed at the urgent repair program Edgecombe County has done in the past, I believe it was the Wooten Company. And so then we did a very brief evaluation of the houses there, but also being able to see houses that have substantial needs of repair, highlighted those sections, highlighted those houses to be able to be for further review. And then from there, we did a secondary inspection internally in the houses, and that allowed us to be able to present our findings to the Housing Selection Committee from there. And then so with internal and exterior photos of the house, that allowed us to select the top 6.
Anything additional you'd like to add to that?
no, as he mentioned, Ms. Braswell, her staff get calls all the time, people interested in programs like this. Unfortunately, we never get enough funds to address all the needs that we see. You may recall at your previous meeting, you saw from the selection committee, the criteria, and there were things like giving priority to elderly applicants, priority to very low income, had to be low income, but gave priority to very low income households. And also, as he mentioned, it was based on the needs of the homes itself, based on the inspection.
I have one other question, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Mr. Evans, do we try to make sure that we don't put all the money in one area, that we kind of spread it out throughout the county and not have all of it done in one particular area?
Yes, a good question. In fact, one of the criteria for the selection committee was to try to, was based on geographic distribution. So I think you'll see, if the application is approved, that it is a good spread across, not just all in Tarboro and Coneta. There's a pretty good spread.
Yes, the cities I have listed is Battleboro, Tarboro, Macclesfield, and Rocky Mount. Sorry if I mispronounced.
You did good.
Any other comments or questions?
So six people chosen $950,000, not $160 apiece.
So there are 4 homes that we expect to be able to reconstruct. The other 2 are alternates, in case, for whatever reason, one of those 4 fall out of the process. The other 2 are alternates.
So you're reconstructing 4 homes with $950,000?
Yes.
237.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure this out.
Trying to figure out if we can get a new house out of it?
Yeah.
I would say you could.
Yeah.
brand new house.
That's what I think.
That'd be a new house.
And that's what this is. So most of these homes are homes that are beyond repair. As you can imagine, of the applicants that we get, some need minor repairs, some need substantial rehab, as we refer to it. Some are beyond rehabilitation. That is, the cost to rehabilitate it is beyond a certain value threshold of the home. So also part of that administrative cost and things like that, cost to have it inspected or the construction monitored.
Relocation assistance during the time frame that the homeowners are displaced is a lump sum that starts to be able to help relocate themselves and their items, and then the monthly fees that come in with that during the demolition process and reconstruction process of the house. So that has to be accounted for.
Are you saying you have to sometime demolish a house?
Yes.
They said beyond repair.
Yes.
Yes.
But I ain't living in it.
No, that's what.
A lot of people live in houses that should not
Yeah.
be living in.
You know, the goal of these programs, and it's a delicate balance, is to try to address the most severe housing conditions out there. And in that, oftentimes you'll find homes that you could spend $40,000 doing renovations and it still have significant needs, so you just can't address all of the needs. And so in that case, this program and other programs we've worked with before does allow for, they call it reconstruction, but it's basically tearing down and building a new home.
Do they have to pay for it?
No, sir. There is deed restrictions on the home. There's a lien on the house that they can't sell it for a certain period of time. An amount is forgiven over that period of time. If they sell it within that window of time, they have to pay back all or a portion of the amount that was spent on the home.
So do the citizens already know who was chosen, or you haven't released that information yet?
We haven't released that yet. We first have to apply for these funds to be able to do it.
okay.
Yes, ma'am.
As part of the application to the state, the homeowners will have to sign agreeing that they want to proceed with the program as intended. So, yes.
Motion.
One more thing, I'm sorry. So does the committee decide that, I know you said that some of them there are so bad, but I'm for getting more with my money? Like, more homes that you could really get people in a good situation rather than only doing 4, spending $200,000 on that many? Instead of maybe doing 8 and spending half that on 8, where you got 8 done instead of 4.
Right.
There's, if you don't mind.
No, sure.
There's a 70, so with the program, with the state, we've been monitored a few times on there, and they look at it at about $70,000 per square, $70 per square foot, but if you exceed over $72,000 to repairs to the house, that's when they start looking at why wasn't this originally suggested to be a reconstruction? And this is one of the few programs that does allow us to be able to do that to one household with a fairly reasonable amount of time, forgiven loan time with a deed of trust to secure that. But the program idea is to be able to have that homeowner receive that type of level of assistance, and also for them to be able to stay in that home indefinitely afterwards.
So what happens to that home should it be for an elderly person who passes away? What happens to the home?
So the deed would travel directly to the next line of heir. The only time that there would be any type of recruitment process would be if the deed changed monetarily. So as long as there was no monetary transaction, then there would be no need to have any repayment of that loan.
So the heirs can own it as long as they don't sell it.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the citizen
We need to hear
participation?
public comment.
Public, excuse me, I'm sorry about that. Is there anybody from the public that would like to be heard at this time? Anybody from, please come forward.
I'm the Reverend Roosevelt Higgs, historical of Speed, North Carolina, and I don't know whether it's Evelyn District of Commissioner Harris, but there's a situation that's going on down in Speed, North Carolina that I would like, I don't want to call the family's name, but I will talk with the manager about that tomorrow. I would hope that, is there any way that some of that money could be used to address that family? They were living in the house and through mishap, they moved out of the house, and as I understand, they may be living down in Canita now in a substandard house. But to me, the situation should have been detected. They got a house built out of a group out of Chapel Hill after the flood of '99 through mishaps with some taxes. Somehow, the house got from under them, and they're supposed to start paying rent. And the people that built the house out of Chapel Hill, I understand they came back down and got that somewhat cleared up, because they didn't think it was fair for someone to be paying rent for a house that they built and gave to them. But the family is mentally challenged, and I just feel like there ought to be some way where people know everything else about people. If they know that a family is mentally challenged, and this family has a handicapped child that was in the household as well, so it's real bad when you know this at the community level, but it probably happens more often than what we realize, and I'd be more than happy to talk with the manager. You may be familiar with it already.
Is there anybody,
I do ask y'all to sue every dollar you can get.
is there anybody else to speak during this time?
Good morning, or good evening, everybody. I hear that there's going to be a modification to the, what do you call it, the getting documents proposed today.
Public records requests.
Right. I would suggest, to save money for the county, that you also, I didn't see it in the document that you proposed, that you add that you can send out PDFs instead of paper copies.
And that's another item on the agenda, but so noted, yes, sir.
Okay. That's, I just wanted to know, it's going to be later on, so I wouldn't be able to speak, so I wish.
You still be able to speak. This is not the public. You still be able to speak.
This is just a hearing.
This is just a public hearing on a particular item. Okay. Is there anybody else here to speak? Hearing none. The request is a motion for the citizen participation plan.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Recommend that you approve.
Can we get a motion on the citizen participation plan?
I motion to approve.
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, the citizen participation plan is approved. The next is a motion on resolution, is that correct?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Recommend that you approve.
We have it before you. We need a motion to approve.
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, the resolution is approved. At this time, with all action taken, I'd like to adjourn the public hearing. The next item on the agenda is a public hearing is called to order to receive citizen comments relative to a special use permit request from Barnhill Contracting Company for property located off Ellis Lane. This is a quasi-judicial hearing. Mr. Peters, would you please read the public notice?
Yes, sir. Public notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held by the Board of Commissioners of Edgecombe County on Monday, November 6, 2023 at 7 p.m. in the Jonathan Felton Commissioners Room, second floor, County Administrative Building, 201 St. Andrews Street, Tarboro, North Carolina, to consider a special use permit request submitted by Barnhill Contracting Company for excavation of sand, clay, and other earthen materials. The property is located on NC 33 Northwest near Ellis Lane, Tarboro, North Carolina, also identified as parcel number 482004630200. Copies of the proposed sand mine are available for public inspection during business hours, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. in the County Planning Office, Room 205, County Administrative Building, 201 St. Andrews Street, Tarboro, North Carolina. All parties in interest and all interested residents are invited and urged to be present and make their views known. This is the 25th day of October, 2023, by order of the Board of Commissioners of Edgecombe County. Signed, Frangie Mungo, Clerk to the Board.
Ms. Evans, comments, please.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. As was just mentioned by Mr. Peters, this is an application for a special use permit for the expansion of an existing sand pit. There is a staff report summary in your packet that we submit that for the record tonight. I do want to highlight, as you will see in your packet, that your options for action tonight are the following. You can choose to either approve the special use and concept plan as presented, or, number two, you can approve a revised special use and concept plan. Or your third option is to deny the special use and concept plan. As Mr. Peters mentioned, this is a quasi-judicial hearing, and therefore anyone who speaks tonight will have to be sworn in. I do believe that we have here with us tonight a representative from Barnhill Construction. Also, Mr. Katina Braswell, our planning director, will be sworn in as well, just in case she's asked questions by you.
If there's anybody here to participate in this public hearing, would you please come forward and be sworn? In order to speak tonight, you have to be sworn.
You place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right. Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you shall give to the board is in fact shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Is there anybody else to be sworn? If you decide you're going to come in after this, we will swear you. At this time, I guess we'll ask for comments, and that comments can be from the applicant.
Good evening, Commissioners. We appreciate you taking the time to...
Please state your name and so forth.
My name is Jonathan Proctor. I'm with Barnhill Contracting Company. And on behalf of Barnhill, I appreciate you taking the time to listen to our case for the special use permit. This is a piece of property that we've been on just north of for the last 15, 16 years. We are currently mining out towards NC 33 and getting to a place where we're going to need to expand our operation. This pit, just a little background, this pit supplies pretty much exclusively our asphalt plant in Rocky Mount. So this sand goes directly into the production of our asphalt. All the asphalt is made in Rocky Mount. So we are looking to expand it just to get some more, get the next inline material to make some more asphalt. You know, obviously there's a particular type of material we've got to use. It's not in every location. We've got to kind of hunt and peck where we can find it. So this obviously, with us being right there where we are, made sense for us to expand just south of the piece of property that we're actually looking at tonight. We already own and have a existing conditional use permit on it as well that we got back in 2007-8 range. So this will just allow us to continuously mine in the same areas that we've already been. We have already submitted our application for the mining permit with the state that'll regulate all of the erosion control, dust control, buffers, in addition to the 100-foot property line buffer that we'll have to abide by with the county ordinance. All of the wetland environmental concerns would be addressed in that permit that we received from the state. So it's in review. I've actually already gotten comments back, and I hope to have the permit before the end of the month.
Any questions?
I'll be glad to answer any questions if you
Any
have
questions from the board?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I was reading the technical review committee comments. Have we looked into what our environmental health supervisor's concerns were about the septic or well system?
So, in the actual area of the pit, there obviously are none. It's an existing just agricultural field. With the application that we have for permitting, we have to identify any wells within 1,500 feet. If we find any, we have to survey them, and then there's a monitoring, and there's actually, we have a dewatering permit that we have to submit data to and all, so we can monitor to make sure there's no drawdown or anything like that. In this particular site, any water that we do pump, we pump internally back into the same pit that we've already excavated, so there's not a lot of pumping and then discharge off-site. Everything is kept on-site. So.
Any other questions or comments? For Mr. Proctor? Hearing none? Thank you. Is there anybody else to speak? Is there anybody else to make comments? Thank you, Mr. Parker. Hearing none. I'd like to join the public hearing. And before us, it's this application permit, and it's recommended, it's not recommended, it's consideration for approval to the board. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Questions?
To be clear, that motion was to approve it, Mr. Ball.
As is.
Questions? That motion in that manner will suffice? That's all.
Yes.
All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, the special use is permitted.
And Mr. Chairman, we have a proposed order.
A proposed order. Also, along with that is
I don't think it needs to be approved separately. It's
this,
Correct.
you think that this order needs a motion?
No, sir. I think the motion covers it.
You want to be sure?
That'll be fine.
Okay, all right, okay. We have a proposed approval, especially if we have an order. Is there a motion to approve the order?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, the order is approved. Thank you. We have scheduled appointments.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Evans, go ahead.
Yes, sir. So I'd like to invite Ms. Sherry Johnson, our Veteran Services Director. As she's coming, you'll recognize that there's a lamp with a green bulb in it just behind you. The front of our building is lit up green. And Ms. Sherry Johnson, our Veteran Service Director, is going to read a resolution that would explain why we're doing that.
Good evening. Good evening. Whereas the residents of Edgecombe County have great respect, admiration, and utmost gratitude for all the men and women who have selflessly served our country and this community in the armed forces, and whereas the contributions and sacrifices of men and women who served in the armed forces have been vital in maintaining the freedom and way of life enjoyed by our citizens, and whereas the Edgecombe County seeks to honor those individuals who have paid a high price for freedom by placing themselves in harm's way for good of all, and whereas the veterans continue to serve our community in American Legion, Veterans of Foreign Affairs, religious groups, civil services, and by functioning as county veteran service officers in 29 states to help fellow former service members access more than $52 billion in federal health, disability, and compensation benefits each year. Whereas approximately 200,000 service members transition to civilian communities annually, and whereas an estimated 20% increase of service members will transition to civilian life in the near future, and whereas studies indicate that 44 to 72% of service members experience high levels of stress during transition from the military to civilian life, and whereas military service members transition from military service are at a high risk for suicide during the first year after military service, and whereas the National Association of Counties encourages all counties, parishes, and boroughs to recognize Operation Green Lights for its veterans. Whereas the Edgecombe County Board of Commissioners appreciates the sacrifices of our United States military personnel, believes specific recognition should be granted.
Are they, if there are any veterans in the audience, would you please stand? This is just our way of saying thank you for your service. Thank you so much for the service that you render. Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Second. Question? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda.
Next, Mr. Chairman, is Ms. Betty Battle, our DSS Director, is here tonight to give you an update on Medicaid expansion that's about to start pretty soon.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Betty Battle, and I'm the Social Services Director for Edgecombe County. And I'm going to I have a presentation, there it is, it just popped up, that I'm going to be covering about Medicaid expansion. I also have with me our Family and Children Medicaid Supervisor, Tina Radford. She's here to answer any policy questions that might come up about Medicaid expansion. So as we know, Medicaid expansion effective December the 1st, 2023, will be here in North Carolina. And right now for Edgecombe County, the state is projecting that we're going to have about 3,177 citizens that will be eligible for Medicaid expansion. And they're also projecting that about 2,200 people who, what they call family planning waiver eligible. Those are people that are eligible for a family planning waiver, but they don't receive Medicaid. Effective December the 1st, they will automatically roll over and begin receiving Medicaid as well. So you're talking about close to 5,400 people that we can expect to be eligible for Medicaid come December the 1st. Right now, what Edgecombe County has received and the amount of funds that Edgecombe County has received for Medicaid expansion that we have to have spent by June the 30th, 2024, is $261,367. And so they've laid out some criteria that we can use for spending the money, which includes hiring additional staff, paying for overtime, hiring bonuses, purchasing equipment, improving technology. Those are some of the things that we can use to spend this money. After June 30th, 2024, they are supposed to continue to fund this. Even if they do not, counties will still be able to claim reimbursement at the 75-25. And you all, I guess you all know what that means.
You'd like to help us.
All right. So for all of our Medicaid positions that we have in the agency, the state pays 75% of the cost. Edgecombe County pays 25% that we claim reimbursement for on the 1571. So for all of our positions, the state fund pretty much the positions. Even if they do not continue with the Medicaid expansion dollars, we will still continue to do the 75-25. And that's for every Medicaid positions, and for our food and nutrition positions, it's 50%. People that are eligible for Medicaid expansion will be able to visit the doctor for inpatient, outpatient care, emergency health care, mental health, behavioral health. All of those services will be covered through Medicaid expansion. Right now, our behavioral health provider is East Point. However, they are in the process of merging with, consolidating with Trillium, and Trillium will be taking them over. And at that time, then our behavioral health provider will be Trillium. Maternity and postpartum care, primary care, prescription drug benefits that will be able to pay for prescriptions. The maximum cost that it would be for them would be $4. These are the income limits for people who will be eligible if you're between the ages of 19 through 64 and your income is 138% of the federal poverty level. If you're a single adult, you're a family, a household size of 1, then if your annual income is equal to or less than $20,120, then you would be eligible for Medicaid expansion. Family of 2 is $27,214, and I won't go all the way down, but you can see the household, the income limits that is listed for each household. If you are already eligible for Medicaid, you still are. There will be no changes. Non-citizens would be, may be eligible for Medicaid if they are not eligible for full Medicaid, meaning if they don't have all the required documents, they may be eligible for some form of Medicaid, like if they have to go to the emergency room, then they may be able to receive Medicaid for those purposes. But unless they're fully documented, there's going to be some restrictions on the Medicaid. Okay.
She needs some help there, Ms. Whitney.
It's not going to the right. Okay, we went quick. How much does Medicaid cost? $0. You do not have to pay any monthly premiums for Medicaid. The highest copay, as I mentioned earlier, is $4 and is only required for some services. So The information that you would need to apply for Medicaid is pretty much what's listed there. You would have to have your full name, your date of birth, your social security number, or if you're an immigrant, then you would need your immigration documents, proof of your, that you're a resident of North Carolina, and income information that you can get from your pay stubs, your W-2 or tax returns. We do verify that information when it's submitted, so we put that information out there just so people know that we do verify all information is provided. How do you apply for Medicaid? You can do it in 4 different ways. You can do it through ePass, which is online, through Edgecombe County NC.gov or ncdhhs.gov. Either way, you can go and apply for the Medicaid through ePass. You can get an application by visiting our office or calling our office, and we will mail you or give to you a paper application. How long does it take after you apply? It may take up to 45 days. It just depends on if you provided everything that's needed for your application to be processed.
Did you say 45 days?
Yes, sir. And that's if you provided everything that we need. If you didn't answer all of the questions or all of the information wasn't provided, then it could take longer because then we would have to reach back out to you, ask you for that information, receive it from you, and process your application. So that would extend the process somewhat.
When can citizens start applying for that?
They can apply now, and can I call Tina up to talk about that?
Yes, because I'm going to open this up to the public too.
Okay.
Because there might be somebody here that this information can benefit. Yeah, please call. Yeah, go ahead.
So
Handle it any way you want to handle it. Go ahead.
Okay, so Tina's going to speak about the family planning waiver, and if you apply now, how that affects your application.
Good evening, everyone.
Good.
I'm Tina Radford, Family and Children Medicaid Supervisor. If you apply today or tomorrow or online, if you would apply today, your application date would be November the 6th or November the 7th. So therefore, if you were approved, you would get family planning program. You would get your family planning for the month of November, and then you would flip December 1 to the Medicaid expansion, as long as you met all the income requirements and all of the other requirements that are required by the state. Okay, the family planning program is a family planning. It is actually more geared for pregnant women, for the birth control prevention. It helps for women, it check you for breast exams, your annual checkup, and your birth control choice of method. For men, it does prostate cancer exams and checks the men and the women for STDs.
Anybody from the public got any questions they might want to raise? While we got some folks here that can answer. Go ahead, ma'am.
My name is Tequila Austin, and I don't have a question, but I have a comment. I'm actually the director of Brasville Memorial Public Library in Rockingham. The state has asked the libraries in North Carolina to assist DSS with this, and Brasville, starting December 1st on Fridays, we will be assisting with applications from 9 to 5.
Okay.
There'll be December and January. It's a pilot run. We'll see how it goes. And then we'll move, and we may add more months, we're not sure. But it is something that we need to speak about. I spoke to DSS in Rockingham today as well. They're going to do a small training for my staff. I have like some, the same slides and stuff, kind of like what you have. So yeah, so I've been reviewing the videos, and tomorrow morning at 8, I'll be training my staff. I just want to say that if it's okay.
Go ahead.
That.
Would you mind coming to the microphone so people watching remotely can hear you as well?
What I wanted to say is that we welcome people to come to Brasville, like I said, starting December the 1st on Fridays, from 9 to 5 to get assistance. But I want to make it very clear, we are not social workers. We are not case workers. Everything is kept confidential. We have a computer lab that we do use. We have people spaced out, and I want people to know that we take this very seriously. We're going to hold everything in confidence, but we're only going to provide the information that they have given us. We don't give our opinions. We don't give advice. We don't do the application for everyone. We just assist them with the website and the navigation of it. And they can start and they can finish later on. But I came here tonight because I didn't know if this subject, because I've been to Nash earlier.
Okay.
I didn't know this subject was going to be here exactly as well on the agenda. But I know that this information was needed for the citizens. But Braswell is here for, I just want to make it clear, Edgecombe County and Nash County. I think people don't understand that. And then I work with all libraries, this, whether it's the community college libraries, we all work together. And we're not the only ones doing it. I had a meeting with the state, North Carolina State Library on October the 3rd, October 4th. Like I said, all public libraries are doing this. The directors have agreed to help the public with this service. And I just want to say thank you. And it's Braswell Memorial Public Library in Rocky Mount.
Thank you. Any other questions for Ms. Barrow?
I do.
Go ahead.
Can you tell us the total number of residents currently on Medicaid?
Yes, I can. So right now in Edgecombe County, we have 19,154 citizens that are receiving Medicaid. And when we add on the projected number, which is 5,367, we expect to see about 24,521 citizens receiving Medicaid in Edgecombe County.
And currently, you have how many Medicaid workers?
Oh, yeah, right. So I was getting to that. But yes, we are asking, and I think Eric's going to cover it. Do you want me to mention, or you want to wait? Okay, so we're requesting to use the $260,000 I mentioned to you all, to use that to get 5 new positions to assist us. And we went with 5 because our numbers, and the state gave us the numbers of the anticipated increase. And our number is, like I said, 3,171 new enrollees and 2,000 plus of the people from the family planning waiver that's going to automatically roll over. I didn't add those numbers in because we don't have to touch those cases. So December the 1st, 2,000 and some family planning waiver citizens that are receiving that will automatically roll over. Our staff won't have to touch those cases according to what the state is telling us right now. So we'll only anticipate having to bring in 5 new workers for those 3,000 plus cases. The family planning waiver that Tina mentioned is kind of weird. It's a state policy, not ours, because, you know, we have people that are 70 years old that call us and say, why am I getting family planning? I don't need it. I'm 70 years old. I'm not going to have any more children. But it is a requirement of the state. But it turned out to be a good thing because now all of those people are going to automatically roll over to Medicaid expansion. The only other thing I have is the 4 types of our 4 providers is, help me out, Tina, Healthy Blue.
Healthy Blue, WellCare, United Healthcare, and AmeriHealth.
Those are the 4 different.
They're PPC brokers.
Right.
They're called the PPC brokers, where they manage your doctor visits and things like that. And then some of the brokers have other things that help the citizens of Edgecombe County and other counties that they do specifically through that broker. And we are told that, you know, we can't as caseworkers, we can't advise a client which broker to choose. We have to give them the number, and they have to call and talk to the broker itself about what their situation is and what they may or may not need. Because if you have a child who has a lot of health issues and a lot of behavioral issues, they may not be eligible for a broker. They may have to stay at Medicaid Direct, which is just the regular Medicaid card, the gray card that they get in the mail. And we, as social services, we can issue those cards out. We cannot issue any of the broker cards out to the client. Once the client calls and they're on the broker, we just have to give them that broker number, and they have to do everything.
And once you make the application, you will be able to choose your broker. If you do not choose your broker, they will choose one for you, and you have 90 days to change. So if you go in and you don't know who you want out of the four, the state will automatically assign it to your Medicaid expansion will, and you have 90 days to make that change. You can change your broker, and you can change your provider, your doctor. And I think that's pretty much it. I can't think of anything else that we haven't already talked about. We talked about how long it would take, what happens once you're approved, and if you're still not eligible for the Medicaid expansion, you still have the Affordable Care Act, and you'll be able to go and apply through there. So there are still other options for people that may not be eligible for the Medicaid expansion.
Any questions from the board? Go ahead.
I wanted to follow up. You said there will be 24,521 people in Edgecombe County on Medicaid expansion?
Uh-huh.
That's 51% of our population.
I know. Yeah, it is. But I'm not really surprised. Not really, because health insurance is so high that a lot of people cannot even afford it. People that are working, health insurance eats up a large portion of their paycheck. Yeah. So you think about the people that are making $20,000 a year, they're not looking at health insurance because they can't afford it.
I just wanted to reiterate.
I understand.
I heard what you said, and then
that.
I did the math to get it into a percentage for people to hear.
I remember you telling me that our numbers were down to like 48,000 something, and I said the same thing when I did the math. I went, Dad, it's almost half of the...
It's 50.7% of our population.
Wow.
Anybody else have a question? Yes, sir.
Just a comment. You said you have adding 3,000 people and you're going to need 5 workers?
That's all we've asked for because of the amount of money that we get.
One for 600?
They already carry 600. We got workers now that she carries 1,500 cases herself as an supervisor because of her vacancy. So all of them, we've got the 5 that we're asking for, but we also have to talk about logistics, like where you going to put them at. Or, there are a lot of things that go along with that, but yes, that's all we're asking for is 5. We would like more. Thank you.
So just a follow-up to that, as Ms. Battle mentioned, recommending adding the 5 positions. And so I plan to approve adding those 5 positions. We will be bringing back to you a budget amendment that will incorporate the additional funds we're receiving, anticipated, that is the startup funds you mentioned, 200-something thousand, then the anticipated additional revenue for that 75% of those costs for those 5 employees. So if you know anyone who's may have qualifications for income maintenance caseworker for our Department of Social Service, please direct them to our website.
Any other comments from the board? Hearing none, moving on. Mr. Evans.
Next, I'd like to invite Mr. Antoine Brown, our Emergency Services Director, to come to the podium. He's going to be joined with Mr. Jonathan Langley, who's the Chief of South Edgecombe Volunteer Fire Department. It was brought, Mr. Webb, you brought to our attention, I believe at our last meeting, concern about an issue of response out in the district. So we thought that this will be a good opportunity for Mr. Brown to first of all talk about, in more general terms, relationship between the county, our volunteer fire departments, typical way things work when a call goes out, mutual aid, those types of things. And then Mr. Langley is going to talk some about his department. He's one of 14 departments in the county, and be happy to answer any question you might have about that situation or anything else they present. So first, Mr. Brown.
All right, good evening. I'll jump right in. I prepared a presentation here to kind of guide us through some of the topics we'll need to cover. Like Eric said, of course, the roles and responsibilities, and then we'll talk about contractual agreements that are in place that help us really monitor and make sure we're good stewards of what we do here, and then continued support. All right. So again, we do have fire protection in Edgecombe County is provided by 14 volunteer departments, and then we have 3 municipal departments: the City of Rocky Mount, Town of Tarboro, and the Town of Pine Tops. Some of this information I'll try to push through because Chief is going to redundancy. He's going to kind of come back and talk about some of it, but it's a couple of points I want to make sure we hit in my presentation. Of course, all of Edgecombe County, we're mandated, we have to provide fire protection. The way we do that, right, is in municipalities or the towns or the cities, and then the other areas outside of those are covered typically by volunteer fire departments. As you'll see in some of the stats that'll be pushed out, across the nation, we see that much fire protection is provided by volunteer departments. So this is not something that is new. Push on through here. Of course, most of in Edgecombe County, all of our fire departments, of course, provide fire response primarily, right, structural fire response, but they also respond to medical calls. They do community risk reduction, which is getting out in the community, doing a lot of PR events. Fire Prevention Month was last month, so of course, they were extremely active in that. Hazmat, traffic accident, gas leaks, and of course, outside fires. And so what you'll see in my presentation and in Chief's is that although fire is their primary thing, they engage in many other aspects as well. Right here, this is a fire protection contract, and so I know a couple of meetings ago, I made a comment. I said that the volunteer service is not what it used to be, and my point in saying that is that people aren't as apt to volunteer in the fire service. I've been a volunteer for about 12, 13 years. I started straight out of high school. I enjoyed, getting on the fire truck, responding to calls, helping those that are in need. And I don't know, people have gotten kind of busy. Other priorities have happened. Not really sure. The interest has kind of dropped down. And again, we see that locally, but we also see that nationally as well. And Chief I won't steal his thunder with some of his presentation. But from our seat at the county, it's our responsibility to make sure that we stand ready to respond in the event that it's necessary. And so all of our departments, they have a biannual agreement that they sign. So typically, it's the fire chief and it's the board, their board of directors, their chair, that signs, as well as county manager signs as well. And it pretty much is a governing document, right, that allows us to monitor, their performance and make sure that they're meeting standard as far as when a call comes out that they're able to respond. And so in this instance, and I kind of cut a few pieces of the contract, but it's really available at our office, and I'm happy to email it over to you if you like it. But essentially, what this is doing is that anytime we have calls come out, right, in our office, or in the volunteer fire departments, when they're toned out, we typically are notified as well, particularly if there is a no response or delayed response. What we do see in the county is during the day, of course, most of the volunteers are working. Volunteer fire departments primarily started from like farmers in different communities seeing the need for fire protection, or community activists seeing the need for fire protection, and a lot of them really kind of funding the fire service themselves, their own dollars, kind of protecting their communities from fire. Of course, that's evolved over time, and we've moved to now individual districts having a fire tax to support the local departments now to be able to operate. What you do see here is in this, so we, at the county level, we monitor the departments, their responses to calls, any type of calls. We monitor their training hours. We monitor their ability to respond within 9 minutes, of course, is up here as well, and their rosters, right, having an adequate number of people on their roster to be able to support themselves on the fire scene. This next slide, again, is a lot of the departments, all of the departments in Edgecombe County, we have interlocal agreements, if you will. The departments all choose to work together to support each other. And so it's not it is common, that if you have a call in a local district, that you're probably going to get 3 other surrounding fire districts to respond with them. For example, if you have a fire call that comes out in Princeville, you will have Speed, Canita, and South Edgecombe come as well. And it's not because Princeville can't get there. We recognize that it takes a lot of people to run a fire scene and to extinguish a fire, and a lot of manpower. And so to make that happen, that there's automatic aid agreements. When we say automatic aid, that means that they're automatically punched initially when a call comes out. I do have here the communications director, Mike Kataginis from the 911 Center, and a couple of other fire chiefs here just came just to kind of show their support, because we recognize that this is important, right? This is a top priority to protect lives and property. And so we take it very seriously. And so to be able to speak to this, we would definitely want to be able to support. So all of the departments of Edgecombe County definitely, they kind of come together, they agree to work together. This specifically kind of speaks to what the non-primary department would bring, or their commitment to the other department anytime a call comes out. And this is primarily for structure response, but it also goes along with any other type of call, whether it be a outside fire or a traffic accident in the area. So before I pass it off to Chief Langley, again, like I talked before, we are seeing a decline in the volunteer service membership, not only locally but nationally. I believe you all have some statistics or a handout from the National Volunteer Fire Council that kind of talks about it over time, but I think it's at least worth saying that our local departments have been really doing a great job with continuing to maintain a continuity of service, considering what we're seeing with the decline of membership. And so my point in saying that, hey, we're seeing a decline is really to motivate and promote all of our community partners and stakeholders to continue to support their local volunteer fire departments. Everybody can't fight fire or pull hoses or join an active membership, but they can be involved and attend their department meetings. Edgecombe County, we have a public safety association that encompasses all of our local fire departments, municipalities as well, law enforcement and EMS, forestry, highway patrol, multiple entities are there, and these are exactly the things that we talk about quarterly at these meetings, so that we stay ahead of where the national decline is kind of headed. So our current posture moving forward from our office is to continue to monitor and support our local fire departments to continue the work they are doing as incidents arise. We always investigate them. First and foremost, the chiefs are contacted directly if there are concerns or things that come up or we need more clarification, and they work very diligently with us to provide that information. It's very minimal that we have those conversations. But again, of course, because we have these agreements in place with them, we continue to hold that compliance piece to make sure that they are meeting standards. And if we do see that we get to a place where our department is low performing or not meeting standard, then we're in a position ahead of time to support them as best we can and provide strategies and resources. But if it continues to decline, then we know that we're going to have to step in with the plan to be able to continue fire protection services in whatever respective district that is. All right.
Next.
Yep. Richie.
Good evening. I'm Jonathan Langley. I'm the fire chief for South Edgecombe Rural Fire Department. I've got a presentation put together as well. Just a few things that I'd like to cover tonight. There it is. So I'm here to respond to the concern by the county commissioners in reference to the response that we had, and also to educate and provide information about the volunteer fire departments and where we're currently at. I like to give real numbers the best I can. A lot of my information came from the volunteer fire council, so that's where we pulled a lot of it from. As far as the incident, it was a grass fire, dispatched as a grass fire on NC 124 West on August 18th of 2023. Our station is Station 14, South Edgecombe, was dispatched. We had personnel that responded via their privately owned vehicles. And after 5 minutes, we have a policy in place through the county, as he was talking about, that after 5 minutes, if the dispatch does not get a response from one of our members saying we're en route, we're on scene, they dispatch the next closest department, which happened to be Station 13, which is Macclesfield. So after that 5-minute lapse of time, Station 13 was dispatched, and Bakertown, as was mentioned, came also, but they came probably 45 minutes or so into the incident and at the request of the on-scene incident commander. some of the things I'd like to talk about is the standard operating procedures that we have in place for when we do have those limited staffing occurrences. It doesn't happen a whole lot, but it does happen every now and then. But the safety that I want to give the community and our commissioners as well is there's a plan in place for it when it does happen. There are things that we have as the fire chiefs of Edgecombe County and emergency management has put in place to take care of those incidents when you have a department that may not have adequate personnel. And so that procedure actually worked the way that it was intended to that particular night. This incident happened on a Friday night, and it was around 6:30 in the evening, and the incident actually lasted till a little after midnight. So it was a pretty long, drawn-out incident. Just to talk about the response schedule for that particular area, Station 14 is the primary in district for South Edgecombe. Macclesfield would be second in. West Edgecombe and Lewis Community would be the third and fourth. We have a 4-department response for every area of our district, and it depends on what area it is, which departments go. But that was the response schedule for that particular district. We talked about Bakertown. Bakertown is on Station 13's response schedule, and they run close in to the Wilson County line. They actually had an incident this afternoon where Macclesfield went into Wilson County to assist them with a structure fire and a grass fire. So it's a common thing for us to cross the county line to be able to help each other out. And as a fire chief, I will say I don't condone us not getting a truck en route. I'm not here to really defend that because there's no excuse for it. I could sit and blame it on staffing, and there's a lot of things I could blame it on, but reality is the public expects us to show up, and we failed to do so. So I'll own that as a fire chief. But what I will say is that I don't condone it, but it does happen, and when it does happen, the policy worked the way that it should have. That particular incident ended up being a gas leak, an underground LP cylinder. So the best course of action was to let it burn until the gas department could get on scene and get it taken care of. They ended up opting to burn the tank off, burn all the fuel out of the tank that night. So they rerouted it, and we stood by basically for the length of that incident while they burned it off and got everything controlled. So I will ask if you have any questions on that incident. I'll be more than happy to answer them, but if not, I'm going to move forward.
Any questions?
I got one quick question.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
So you telling me Station 13 responded after 5 minutes with an apparatus or not?
No, sir. They actually responded. One of their officers checked en route, and they had an additional tone out at the 10-minute mark at the request of the incident commander that was on scene with radio.
I mean, I was in the volunteer fire department 20 years, and I agree and understand everything you're saying. I was curious as to why they didn't respond, if y'all didn't respond with an apparatus.
So
That same problem, lack of personnel on Friday night at that time?
it is. And the gentleman that actually checked en route lives a little closer to that area, so he didn't drive back to the station to
Right.
get an apparatus.
Gotcha.
I live locally in that area also, and truthfully, I wouldn't have drove all the way to Pine Tops to get an apparatus. I'd have went to the scene to start doing what I could do, and then requested resources as necessary. Again, not best practice, but we try to look out for each other in the different areas. We know where our volunteers live, so we try to look out for each other in that aspect to keep us from having to drive so far, but also to get people on scene quicker. And we don't always hear, as far as dispatch, they don't always catch our members checking on scene because they don't all have radios. Just your officers are going to be the ones with radios, and then we have radios on the trucks once they get there. Any other questions?
Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm going to cover a few national statistics. I guess it's, if it'll move. I don't know where I'm supposed to be pointing. There it goes. So across the nation, we have 29,452 departments nationwide. 18,873 are all volunteer departments. They don't have any paid staff. They get no monetary recovery. There's 5,335 that are mostly volunteer. That means they probably have some sort of paid staff Monday through Friday, or maybe 1 or 2 days a week, something of that sort. You have 2,459 that are mostly career. That would be your departments that are similar to Tarboro. that they have a career paid guys there, but they are supplemented by volunteers. And then there's 2,785 that are all career departments. In other words, they don't have any volunteers. Everybody is paid members. In 2018, 745,000 volunteer firefighters were reported in North Carolina, or across the nation, excuse me. That's 28 volunteer firefighters per department on average. The total calls that were run across the nation was 36,746,500. You can see in 2019, the volunteers started to drop off. It dropped down to 722,800 volunteer firefighters across the nation. That dropped that average number down to 27. And then the call volume went up in 2019 to 37,272,000. In 2020, you see our numbers dropped again. If we all remember what happened in 2020, COVID hit. A lot of people got scared when COVID hit, and we run medical calls in the volunteer fire service just as well as any other emergency medical things. We run those type of calls. So there were people that got scared of it and they completely got out. They said, I don't have to be here, so they walked away from it. You got 25 people on average per department across the nation. And when I say on average, that means you could have some departments that have 40, 45 members, but on the flip side of that, you have some that may not have but 14 or 15. And then the call volume dropped a little bit in 2020 because we kind of reined back on running the medical calls. We let EMS handle that. And that was by design. Our county actually did that. The volunteers quit running medical calls across the board during COVID to protect and give that reserve in case we did have fires or other types of emergencies. So our numbers across the nation are actually declining at a regular basis, on a regular basis and a regular rate. The 2021 and 2022 numbers have not come out yet. In Edgecombe County, and I'll speak to this specifically, you heard there's 14 departments that receive funding from our fire tax in Edgecombe County. We have 3 departments that are municipalities for a total of 17. Rocky Mount, Tarver, and Pine Tops are not funded through the county fire tax. They're funded through the municipalities. You have Sharpsburg, Battleboro, Sharp Point, Whitakers, and Fountain that receive funding from Edgecombe County, but they're not actually considered Edgecombe County departments. These are departments that maybe have their stations in Nash County, but they're close enough to the line to run with us and have areas in our district. Then you have Heartsease, Principal, Speed, South Edgecombe, Macclesfield, Leggett, West Edgecombe, Lewis Community, and Canida that are all funded through our fire tax. So there's 12 OSFM registered Edgecombe County fire departments. The ones that are all volunteer include Macclesfield, Canida, Speed, Leggett, Lewis, and Pine Tops. That means they don't have any paid staff during the day. They don't have anybody that helps out other than their volunteers. They're completely supported by volunteers. Our mostly volunteer departments are West Edgecombe, South Edgecombe, Princeville, and Heartsease. West Edgecombe has a program. They run a paid staff, 1 person per day, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. South Edgecombe is in a similar situation. We run 1 person Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. I think Princeville's department, if I'm not mistaken, has a 3-day where they have 2 people 3 days out of the week. And then Heartsease program, I'm not 100% sure on what they're actually doing, but they have some sort of paid staff off and on throughout the course. And then you have your other 2 departments that you see there at the bottom. So out of our mostly volunteer departments, I want to give you the numbers of where we're really at. West Edgecombe has 2 stations. They have a primary station and a substation. They have 37 members on their roster. One thing that I want you to remember about these roster numbers is it includes your auxiliary members, which are not interior firefighters, and it also includes the junior members. These numbers were pulled through the county's workman's comp forms. So Macclesfield has 1 station with 19 members. South Edgecombe has 2 stations with 38 members. I can attest to where we're currently at because of my involvement. We have 5 paid staff members that are counted in that 38. We have 22 volunteers, 5 junior members, and 6 auxiliary members. So when you're talking about a weekend or after 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, we have 22 volunteers that are ready to respond. The thing about that I want to speak on too is of those 22 volunteers, we have 12 that work in some sort of form of emergency services, whether it be fire, police, or EMS or emergency management. There's 12 of us that actually work some sort of shift work. Canita has one station with 23 members, Speed, one station with 32 members, Princeville has one station with 26 members, Leggett has one station with 32 members, Heartsease, one station with 28, Lewis Community, one station with 25, and Pine Tops, one station with 30 members. Okay, so that leaves us 281 total roster members serving 48,359 residents in Edgecombe County. That's one firefighter for every 172 people. That's a task. You have 159 of those firefighters that are actually certified to go interior and fight fire. I said everybody has a place, but 56.5% is what you have that can actually fight fire. That's one interior firefighter for every 255 people in Edgecombe County. We talked about drivers. There's a lot of certifications that you got to have to fight fire and to drive these apparatus and things. We have 190 drivers according to our fire chiefs, but this includes our smaller vehicles, our brush trucks and those things that pretty well anybody can drive, and the larger apparatus that you may have to have special training to be able to drive. That's 67.6. But the thing to look at in that is many of those people that are able to drive those apparatus are also that 159 interior firefighters. We also, of that 281, have 19 that are enrolled in multiple departments. I want to look at our age for a few minutes. So I was able to pull the stats on 237 of that 281 members. 5% are juniors. 35% of our firefighters are 18 to 30 years old. 19% are 31 to 40 years old. 41 to 50 year olds is 17%. 51 to 60 year olds is 14%. And 60 plus year olds is 10%. We still have some departments that are recording that they have people in their late 70s, early 80s that they're still rostering as interior firefighters, which is almost unheard of. But that's where we're at. Not many of them, but we do have some. So our recruitment and retention challenges, this is where the rubber meets the road and where we can actually say, what can we do to fix things? So time demands, family, work, school, college, sports, other clubs, that's what's taken away from your local volunteer fire departments. You have training requirements, call volume, change in the nature of the business, and when I talk about that, it's rising costs and abuse of services by the public. Run into multiple EMS incidents for stump toes and things like that, it takes its toll on the volunteers. And then greater public expectation of the fire department response and our capabilities. Mr. Brown actually spoke of how many different things we've been involved in. It's not just firefighting anymore. It's hazmat, it's EMS, it's a lot more to it than what it used to be. The change in the sociological conditions, leadership problems, aging communities, and then internal conflicts. Those are the things that we face when we talk about recruitment and retention. And I want to speak specifically on the three that are highlighted. So what can we do? Our changes in sociological conditions, the recruitment takes time. And let's be real, we're already volunteers and spending more time doing recruitment. It's tough. It takes money to be able to put the things together, and that takes money from our actually firefighting capabilities, and it puts more stress on our department members. It's a necessity, but only a limited number of people actually believe enough in recruitment and looking into this stuff to get involved in it. So of those 22 that I have on my department, you might have 5 or 6 that actually believe enough in recruitment to show up and help with things. They'll show up to the fires, but they're not going to show up to the recruitment events. And that's not saying anything bad about them. They have obligations at home and work and everywhere else too. So what we're currently doing for South Edgecombe in recruitment aspects is word of mouth. That's one of our best tools. Walking in, getting to know somebody, say, hey, you interested in joining the volunteer fire department? It's a good place to hang out. We'll teach you some things that are going to help you in life, especially our younger folks. We'll teach you things that'll help you. And that word of mouth is a great tool. We focus on parades. We do a couple of parades throughout the year. We have career days that we go to at the local schools. We put signs out in front of the stations. We do social media outreach. And we currently have planned involvement in the public safety program that's getting up and going at Southwest Edgecombe High School. That's going to be a great tool for us. We've actually got a couple of junior members that have come in recently because of that program that's starting up. So what do we need from a volunteer fire department standpoint is we need our communities to get involved and help us out. We need help in recruitment and retention. We need people to encourage their younger family members to get involved, to take some pride and ownership in your community and where you actually live, and step up and say, I want this to be a better place, and this is the way that I can do it. So there's a place for everybody, and so we're looking for people to get involved. Went one too far. So when I talk about our training requirements and the change in the nature of the business, our stations, equipment, and training, we need to focus more on quality rather than quantity. This is going to help with retention because people won't stay at a department where they can't go and learn, and they won't stay where they don't have the appropriate equipment to do the job correctly. In Edgecombe County, we currently have 3 Office of State Fire Marshal, that's OSFM, that are approved training facilities. That's almost, it's one of those places we have to have a place that we can go and train. Sitting in front of a computer screen is not going to work anymore. Being able to go out and burn houses like we used to is almost unheard of because of all the requirements that's been placed on us. So we're developing these training facilities. You've probably been down 258 and seen the big Connex boxes, or been through Tarver and seen their Connex boxes. But all of these training facilities are being built. The association has decided heard Mr. Brown talk about our association. We've decided to conduct 4 county-wide trainings a year where we get all the departments in Edgecombe County together and we train together 4 times a year. And that's hosted at one of these facilities, so we're able to get good quality training. Then you have cost. That's always a factor, and I'm not one to sit and talk about money a whole lot, but you can see here that apparatus costs are above $600,000. Y'all agreed to purchase a fire truck for the county not too long ago, right at $600,000, if not a little more. The truck that you see pictured in the top is a 2009. That's our newest truck in the fleet at South Edgecombe, and we purchased it for $272,000 in 2009. So that's the difference in what the cost has gone up to. And then gear and all of the other equipment that we have is going up too. We reach out and we do grants through the state. We do grants through other agencies to help kind of fund this stuff, but it's tough. Writing those grants takes time, and again, it's a volunteer organization, so it takes time. So what can you do as a commissioner standpoint, as a community standpoint? You can get involved. Ask your local departments about volunteering. Is there something there's something you can do regardless of your age? We have auxiliary members, we have junior membership, we need people to train these younger people. And it doesn't necessarily just have to be in firefighting. They need trained in business aspects, because the volunteer fire departments are businesses now. It's not like it used to be where it was a good old boys club. It's not that way. We run them like we do businesses. And so we need the help with training in those aspects for the people coming up. Learn your local fire department and its needs. They have regular meetings, training events. Find out when they are and show up. Ask them, hey, what do you got going on? How do you handle this type of incident? What do you do in this situation? You can ask those questions and any of them should be able to answer. If not, they can point you in the right direction. And then ask what projects they currently have going on. South Edgecombe's known for the tractor pull. We've done that for many, many, many years. The ability to continue to do that is based off the community involvement. Those fundraisers aren't like they used to be. It takes months of preparation to put those things together. We have, and I'll speak to us because that's, again, what I know is South Edgecombe has board meetings monthly, and we have regular department meetings on the first Thursday of every month at 7 p.m. We have other training events throughout the month, but if you want to come to South Edgecombe and learn what we're about and how we operate and how we do things, I welcome you to. And we'll answer and ask any questions. If you have any other questions or concerns, I'll be happy to answer them. If I'm able, you can contact me via email at southedgecombefire.com if you have questions that you may think of later on that you won't answer. I'll be happy to answer any of them that I can. Again, I thank you for your time and for listening to me. And if you have any questions now, I will answer them the best that I can.
Any questions? I guess the only thing I have to comment is the presentation is educational to me, okay, in terms of what you actually do, and I think we just thank the volunteers understanding, and I guess in terms of what the county can do, I think you all that are in the fire business, along with Mr. Brown, some things that we're not doing, just suggest to us in terms of those things, and we certainly will look at them favorably, I believe, because, I've always been curious about what the fire departments, but never even been active in it. But I had talked to Mr. Brown when he first got appointed in terms of we need some type of youth program in all of our schools, okay? And so that we can just get them. I know that there are feeder programs to our professional fire departments, okay, and they come trained, almost trained. They might have to do some different kind of training for the other departments, but I certainly support those efforts in terms of anything that our board can do, because we do ask you do volunteer with that service, and a lot of the public don't understand that it's some of the insurance rates they get because of that. Thank you so much for the things that the volunteers do.
Mr. Wiggins, may I make one comment?
Yes, yes,
I just want to commend Mr. Brown and Mr. Langley. Mr. Langley gave me a call at home. I guess I'm the causative factor of his presentation. But, Mr. Langley, thank you so much. We appreciate your response. And, as a commissioner, when I have a concerned citizen, I did my part. You've done your part, and we're all good.
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we better understand your part.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think it is an understanding of how it works. Thank you, sir. Moving on.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Next, we have with us tonight Mr. Sherrod Knox. He's with an organization called When People Work, and they do good work to assist people who are justice impacted. And in fact, they've done some work more specifically with our sheriff's office, and Mr. Knox will share with you more about the work that they do.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sherrod Knox. This is Renee Deans, my lovely program director. She's going to give you all a copy of the presentation. Thank you. Thank you. So everyone, again, good evening. My name is Sherrod Knox. I'm here with When People Work. When People Work is a comprehensive reentry program that started originally in upstate New York. We've existed for about 10 years now. We've run a variety of programs in New York as well. Programs is that we are an all-inclusive program. We don't have all these services siloed off. You come and you sign up for us, and the job training person works with the housing person. And so that way, it's not you're signing up for 7 different programs. You're signing up for one program, and all of that is together with us. We've existed in North Carolina now for about a year, and we've been able to collect some really good data about how our program is running. I'm happy to tell you we work very well with the Edgecombe County Sheriff here. I wish that every sheriff's office that we worked with was as easy and as fantastic to work with as the one you have here. In our program over the last year, we have I think it's about 200 people who are in the jails waiting to come out. About 75 people, I think is the latest number, of people active in our program, with only 3 people who've recidivated. So we know and we're able to see that bringing this program here, really successful, really helpful. I'll tell you the one thing, as I got a chance to speak with Mr. Evans at length, the one thing as I get to this point is like you all are kind of wondering kind of what costs, how do we do this, and how we're able to bring all of these services to your area. We're able to do this through a unique public-private partnership called a Pay for Success contract. There are none in North Carolina right now, but there are multiple examples federally and in other states as well. The way it works is we are backed by a private funder, Edgecombe Capital. They're an offshoot of Goldman Sachs. And what they do is they fund programs like this to help the community. That's literally their entire existence, is to fund organizations like this. The way they do it is anything that we need, so anything from, we're partnering in Wilson County, for instance, helping to rebuild an apartment complex for lower income people, all the way to caseworkers that bring people in and help them out. And what they do is they agree to fund us fully for 5 years. And on the front of that, what happens is we need to have government partners in order to have that happen. The government partner serves two purposes. One is for data collection and data, that type of thing. We've managed to do that through your sheriff, and so we have the basic data to do that. The second thing is, it's called Pay for Success because if our program doesn't work, we don't get to continue to exist, and we're constantly evaluated by them. Each person that comes to our program is entered into a computer system, everything from doctor's appointments, job training, interviews, anything else like that. Each of those things are documented. So what we do is at the end of the 5 years, we come back to you all. Well, the agreement is arranged up from the beginning, so it's no surprise cost or anything else like that. But we come back and we evaluate how successful the program has been. And if the program has saved you all some money, we ask for a portion of that back to keep the program running. So say, for instance, we saved you $100. We ask for like about $30, $40 to keep the program running. State of North Carolina tells us it costs about $50,000 to $54,000, depending on the facility, per person per year to keep a person in prison in North Carolina. So our program is certainly significantly less expensive than that. We have a video that we queued up, and I'm hoping we're able to show that because we wanted to get some testimonials from your sheriff's department as well as see some of the people who've been through our program. some of the participants are. But yeah, also I want to give a thank you to some of my staff who has stayed over late tonight to help me out with this presentation and everything. And again, to the sheriff's office as well. What questions do you all have?
Any questions?
Where are you located?
Our headquarters is in Raleigh. Right now, we again, because we work so closely with the jail here, we go in and out of the jail. So our caseworkers come to the jail and operate that way.
How long did you say you've been in our area?
In Edgecombe County, I believe it was January? Yeah, I believe it was in January we came in.
I do know we had a reentry, it kind of was involved in the reentry program at one time. I don't know, where are we, does that program still exist?
Yeah, I think that there were other programs that were funded by state and
Right, yeah,
federal funds
there
that
were
don't receive those.
1 or
funds.
2 year funds.
That's right.
So what are you asking of us?
So, well, first of all, I'd love the chance to get a chance to meet with you all more outside of this to give a full breakdown of what a pay for success agreement would look like. Ultimately, what I'd love is a pay for success agreement with Edgecombe County.
Well, certainly continue to talk to Ms. Evans.
Okay.
You know, we got some folks up here, if it's savings, they interested in it, okay? If it's savings to our county, we certainly would be interested in it. And we've always shown an interest in reentry, okay, in our county. We've supported it where we could, so continue to talk with Ms. Evans and look at what you might be requesting of us.
Yes, sir.
And if you go right ahead.
I'll say one more point I realized I missed. Part of pay for success is that if we come to the end of the 5-year agreement and we've not saved you all any money, it's no repayment whatsoever. So it's all.
Well, I guess we're going to say it might be some repayment in terms of when you come back and make that request, but depending upon it, I think many of us would be favorable, okay? If you can show us where you've saved us, okay? I think I'll say for the board, we certainly will look at it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for your presentation, okay? Do anybody need to take a break up here? Okay.
Keep going.
At this time, we'll take public petitions. Is there anybody here from the public that would like to speak? Please come and state your name and address for the public, please.
Good evening. My name is James Wren, 704 NC Highway 97 East in Leggett, and the Vice President of Phoenix Historical Society, African American History of Edgecombe County, and on behalf of our President, Mavis Stith, and the members of the Phoenix Society, I want to thank this board for continuing to support us. We had 2 very successful events in the spring, the premiere of the film We Can Do Better, which highlighted the campaign just to keep IBP out of Edgecombe County, and we also unveiled a North Carolina Civil Rights Trail marker to the East Tarboro Citizens League here in Tarboro on Panola Street. This Saturday, November 11th, at 11 o'clock at Red Hill Missionary Baptist Church, we will be unveiling a new North Carolina Highway historical marker that recognizes some history that we have recovered and researched and brought out of the brought up that has not been recognized, of meetings of freed people in 1866 in the area of northern Edgecombe County, that where hundreds of free black people were gathered and having meetings, trying to set up an equal rights league and fighting for higher wages, voting rights, and self-defense. This was during the time period people were free from slavery but not yet had the right to vote, and the powers that be were trying to turn the clock back. And people stood up. Farm workers in this county stood up and made a difference. And program will be at the Red Hill Missionary Baptist Church this Saturday at 11 o'clock. And our speaker will be historian Dr. David Zaselsky, and you can pass these around. Everybody's welcome. The marker will read, Equal Rights League, newly freed people, 1866, rallied at Hammond's Hill here for voting rights, fair wages, and self-defense, became an early civil rights organization. And Chairman Wiggins and Commissioner Powell will be there, and hope y'all will be there too. Thank you.
I'll just say to the public, these are real educational meetings. And if you happen to be in the area, there's about a lot of history in the county that we're not aware of, so I would encourage you to attend if you can. Anybody, if you're in those areas, it's real interesting meeting. Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, thank you.
Good evening again. I'm Reverend Roosevelt Higgs, and again for attorney, you wrote me a letter one time in case you need to contact me. You can send all my correspondence to Post Office Box 264, Speed, North Carolina. I have some information I want to share with y'all. Here's some information here. I want to go to your agenda where y'all have reference to county line merger. I just want to thank y'all. I think y'all have done an excellent job dealing with that issue, and we all hope and pray that the best will come out of it. Mr. Manager, will you pass each one? Also on your agenda here, you have a consideration of a resolution to recognize Native American Heritage Month. Y'all have a document that kind of show that once Edgecombe County was a historical home to the, how you pronounce that word, Mr. Manager? Tuscarora Indians. And I think it's, again, it's important that we don't leave out anyone when it comes down to Edgecombe and Edgecombe history. Also, y'all have on your agenda tonight a resolution in the honor of Mr. Walter Plymouth Jr. Mr. Walter Plymouth from Princefield, he gave excellent service to Edgecombe County for many years in many capacity. And I stand here proudly tonight to display you all some wax. This is a record that we recorded down at Canita High School in the auditorium in 1970 under the directorship of Mr. Walter Plymouth Jr. I was 17 years at the time, 53 years ago. But I didn't just bring one, I brought two. I want y'all to get a feel of it. Not too many black high schools in the state probably could say they did an album in 1970.
You just want to just feel it and pass it back?
Yeah, like you were handling anything that's
So
devil.
you want some history back?
Yeah, I want my history back. And also on December.
Make sure everybody feel it now.
Yeah, feel it. Yeah.
Leave your fingerprints on it.
Might be some young folks don't know what that is.
And they want this.
Well,
What is that?
Well, nobody can play it probably but me.
And we also see on y'all's agenda, y'all have a resolution to support Princefield with the naming of the bridge. We ask that y'all do that if you will. And on December the 23rd, out at Cherry Hill Church, y'all should have a copy of that as well. We're going to do a concert in honor of Mr. Plymouth. He touched the lives of many people in this area, and we just want to carry on his legacy. So at Cherry Hill on December the 23rd at 3 o'clock, we can do a Christmas concert in his honor. And if y'all notice, there's another attachment I have, but if you look to the back row, you'll see someone that you should recognize, but that was 53 years ago, so I have changed somewhat since that time, but I still can hold my own. And also, I want to ask y'all to do this for the town of Princefield. This is my friend, General Hugh Shelton. Most people know General Hugh Shelton as the Joint Chief of Staff, and that's what this article here kind of give a little history. Mr. Manager, I'm going to give you another copy. Oh, yeah, I should have another copy of everyone. I have two things, and I didn't go back and dig this up. I got this out of the Welcome to Tarboro magazine. Many of y'all in the audience know it. But General Shelton, I believe it or not, was raised up on the same farm, his family farm, but he worked on the farm just like everybody else did. And I was telling the county manager, his grandmother was a school teacher, and his grandfather was a what they call county auditor for Edgecombe County. As I understand it from General Shelton, years ago they didn't refer to him as county manager, they were referred to as county auditors. And when I came to know the county, there was county manager. I think Alan Lee Harrell was the manager at that time. And that's one tower piece, but I'm giving y'all another piece because I want y'all to help promote the town of Princeville. On the back of this, if you ride through Edgecombe County, you'll see signs that say, "Welcome to Edgecombe County, home of General Hughes Shelton." Some of y'all have seen those signs. If you go out Colonia Road into Highway 42 and go toward Greenville, it's one there on the Pitt County, Edgecombe County line, and you also see one down in the Chris area. But what I want you all to do, the town of Princeville is a part of Edgecombe County, and I would be doing the same thing if it was the other way. But where you got welcome to Edgecombe County, home of General Hughes Shelton, I want you all to consider asking for a sign to go somewhere all over the county saying Edgecombe County, home of the oldest black town chartered by blacks in America. It's a part of our history. We should be proud of it. And I also ask y'all to support that resolution as well as the one for the Native American. And here's a copy of the album cover, y'all. Yeah, that's a cover. I'm proud of it. Very proud of it. I wish the back has been used a little bit more. But anyway, I thank y'all for y'all time. And I'm going to exit on out of here because I have a bed appointment. 9 o'clock bed.
Thank you, Reverend Higgs.
All right.
Thank you for sharing.
Anybody else for public petitions, please come forward. Is there anybody else for public petitions? Hearing none, moving on to next agenda item. Ms. Evans.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. We have a few budget amendments for your approval and a few others for your review. I'll draw your attention to those at the front of your groupings of budget amendments there. You'll see budget amendment number 1. As you will know, at your last meeting, you direct staff, you agreed to appropriate $1 million of fund balance to purchase vehicles for the sheriff's office. This is a budget amendment to capture that. What you'll also see in that budget amendment is we recently sold some cars that you surplused a few months ago to the tune of a little over $24,000. So this budget amendment recommends reappropriating that money into the same capital outlay line. Also, $73,582 insurance proceeds, 2 vehicles that were involved in an accident, sheriff's vehicles that were totaled. And so those are the payoffs for those 2 vehicles. So recommending that we appropriate the $1 million for that, the $24,000 for surplus vehicles sold, as well as the proceeds from the from insurance on those 2 vehicles into capital outlay for purchase of vehicles for the sheriff's office. Just as a note that we have that out to bid now for the vehicles as well as upfit of those vehicles. That was out for about 3 weeks, I believe it was. We only received 2 bids. Our procurement policy says that we have to go out a second time. The second time, we can receive only 1 bid and we can still proceed. That will be a contract to be brought back for your approval. Those second round of bids are due back this Thursday. Budget amendment number 2 is you originally appropriated or reserved of the ARPA funds or ARPA-enabled funds, $220,000 to purchase heavy equipment in solid waste department. We purchased a new backhoe there for a little around $180,000. The balance of that, $40,218, is remaining, and so recommending that we roll that forward to current year's capital outlay to purchase a compactor for one of our convenience sites for solid waste department. Budget amendment number 3 is, this is in the health department. This is a routine budget amendment. You see relatively small numbers there, but the reason that it is included here in the section where you must approve is because it includes moving some funds out of salary. And this is for some funding received from the state. As you'll recall, one of the provisions with our budget amendments is that anything that involves movement of money in or out of a salary or salary-related lines, regardless of the amount, must be approved by you. Budget amendment number 4. Again, this is funding received in Healthy Communities program. Bringing this to you because this also includes appropriation, or part of the budget amendment includes a salary line. Budget amendment 4A, this is COVID enhancement funds. These are, again, state funds for the health department, appropriating those funds to the health department. Budget amendment 4B. There were 3 vehicles planned and budgeted in the FY23 budget, one for planning, one for the health department, one for the tax administration office. We've worked very hard, you know, with limited supply of vehicles, not been able at that time to identify vehicles to purchase that were suitable for those departments. We believe we have identified those vehicles available now, so recommending that you roll forward what was previously appropriated in FY23 in capital outlay to current year's budget. So those are the budget amendments that require your approval. I'm happy to answer any questions about those or any of the other budget amendments. I recommend that you approve.
And any questions of the manager?
I just have a comment. I just want to thank staff and all staff for these are the best prepared budget amendments since I've been a commissioner that I've seen. I mean, detailed descriptions and very minimal corrections or changes. And so just thank you for taking the time to make sure that those are done correctly. And it helps us as we review these and vote on them. So thank you for that.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Last budget amendment through what, 1 through what?
Budget amendments 1 through 4. Sorry, I lost my place. 4B.
1 through 4B. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign, aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, the budget amendments are approved. Next, Mr. Evans.
Next is regarding a resolution to approve the plan for county line merger transition. Attached for your review is the county line merger transition plan, which is due for submission to the North Carolina State Board of Education by November 15th. You will see that the plan is in 2 parts, detailing the respective size of the merger for each school system. A few modifications have been made since our joint meeting on October 16th. I'll direct your attention to those changes or additions in just a second. All 4 boards are asked to consider the enclosed resolution to approve the plan and authorize its submission before the deadline on November the 15th. Nash County Board of Commissioners met this morning. Word that I got from their managers that they did adopt the resolution to approve the plans as presented. I believe the school districts are meeting tonight, and so we'll hear if they will approve those. I do recommend that you approve the plan as presented, subject to some minor technical corrections that Mr. Peters and I will agree to. If there are any, we believe there will be a couple that if our staff will agree to, and I'll point out a couple of things that might be. I do want to point out that in your packet was a copy of the resolution for approval. There's been an update to that from the copy that you had in your agenda packet. You do have an updated copy of the resolution at your place. The thing that was added since the agenda packet went out would be, if you look at the one loose at your place, is the next to the last whereas on the front page. States that the boards have identified no remaining issues they believe cannot be resolved by continuing cooperation of the parties. I believe that was the addition made since the copy went out in your agenda packet. I want to point out a few things in the plan itself. Some of those be changes from what you saw at the joint meeting back in October. Some were existing at the time. I just want to draw your attention. So just following through in your agenda packet, of course, first you'll see is Edgecombe Schools' side of the transition plan. First, I want to point out, if you'll turn to page 7 of Edgecombe Schools section of the transition plan. You'll see down second half of the page where it's titled Preparation of Budgets and Funds, Contracts, Obligations, Assets, and Liabilities. Those bullet points there on the second half of that page propose how we in particular, how Edgecombe County will fund or will not fund certain things moving forward in the transition. I'm happy to, I don't know if you want me to read through those, but we have discussed those before. You're aware of those, but I want you to know that this has now been added into the plan itself. It also shows up on the Nash County School side of the plan as well, so it will be consistent between both sides of the plan. Again, just to remind you, I think you'll remember, I want to make sure that the public knows that though there are two sides to this, this will be submitted as one plan under the umbrella of this joint resolution that all four boards are adopting either early today or tonight. Also on the next page, page 8. At the top of page 8, here are some additional points that have been added. For example, you'll see at the top it says current expense currently allocated in Nash County Public Schools. Of the $2,188,320 base current expense payment, that's what we, Edgecombe County, we have been budgeting for a number of years now. We refer to that as the current expense, the base payment. Approximately $550,000 of that will be the remaining allocation to Nash County Public Schools to cover those 10th through 12th graders. As you all remember, just to make sure everyone here in the audience knows that the transition will happen July of '24, July of next fall. The decision has been made and agreed upon all four boards, and it is included in this plan that those rising 10th through 12th graders, excuse me, who live on the Edgecombe County side of Rocky Mount but have been going to high school in Nash County schools will be given the option to continue to go to that high school, to finish out their high school career there. And therefore, we having some ongoing current expense obligation for those remaining students. At this point, and this is just estimate, you'll be given a more definite budget number when it comes to budget time. Estimate is approximately $550,000 of that will remain to be budgeted to Nash County schools for those students. Therefore, of the $2.188 million, approximately $1.6 million may be available to appropriate to Edgecombe Public Schools. Again, we wanted to put the word may be available because that's still a budgetary decision that you get to make come budget time in next spring. The annual capital and debt service in Nash County Public Schools, approximately $450,000 that either is or was going to Nash County Schools for annual capital and debt service may be available to appropriate to Edgecombe Public Schools. We phrase it like that because in this current year, FY24, the budget that you all approved, we are paying debt service to Nash County Schools, but we're not paying any current annual capital. So all of that, the total of the annual capital debt service and capital gap, that would be available then to appropriate to Edgecombe schools instead of Nash schools. The plan, as was on page 7, states that come fall of next year, we will no longer continue to pay debt service or any annual capital to Nash County schools. And again, that's something that all four boards are, we expect, agreeing on tonight. The last budget there says the local cost of the supplement and benefits for staff positions in the four schools will need to be accounted for by Edgecombe County. Those teacher positions, there are about 100 positions, a little over 100 positions. The supplement that it is 10% now in Edgecombe schools will have to apply to those as well. So we will have to budget for that in upcoming year. But again, we will have available to us those numbers that I just shared with you just a moment ago. Also, under budget transfer process, I want to note there that it says Edgecombe Public Schools will identify and address all legal and regulatory requirements and frameworks governing the transfer of assets and budgets between the two school districts in accordance with applicable laws, regulations, and contractual obligations. So that's a broad statement. In particular, that refers to, we've had conversation about assets that were purchased with federal funds. And so that is still, the final number is unknown. And so this statement is included in both sides of the plan. Everyone at this point believes that using, instead of the depreciated value, instead of using that, using fair market value, that number is going to be much less than what was originally expected. They are still, both staff in both school systems are still working on finalizing that number. And that refers to the next point as well under transfer and acquisition of assets. I do also want to point out, if you turn over a couple of pages to page 10, you'll see here on the Edgecombe side of the plan the recommended school configuration. As we know, the fall of next year, those ninth grade students that formerly had gone to Nash County schools or would have gone to Nash County School, high school, will be coming to Edgecombe schools. Up till the last joint meeting, the two options that were on the table were either to send those students to North Edgecombe High School, or they were considering a building that's called the Incubator Building in Fountain Park and Rocky Mountain. It's a facility that's becoming available. The school board has decided for the time being to move forward with planning to transfer those ninth graders to North Edgecombe High School. They looked at just the time of preparing that incubator building, was just not enough window of time there, and the board has decided that their plan to move forward, those ninth graders, taking them to North Edgecombe. So that is a revision in the plan. Of course, there will still be decisions to make as far as long-term when those 10th and 11th and 12th grade students will transfer over. I also want to point out on page 12, near the top of page 12, really the first bullet there at the top of page 12, there's been some question about the transfer of buses as part of the assets that will transfer, the 72 passenger versus the 68 passenger buses, I believe, 65 passenger buses. Edgecombe School's garage cannot handle the longer, larger buses. So you'll see here included in the plan is that Edgecombe and Nash Schools transportation departments, they're working with DPI to transfer approximately 20 72 passenger buses from Nash to another local public school unit. And then that local public school unit will then transfer the appropriate number of 65 passenger buses to Edgecombe schools. I also want to point out, I must admit that I was a little confused on this initially. I think initially there was some thought that the smaller bus meant an older bus, and that's not necessarily the case. They still make both size buses, so that does not, us Edgecombe schools getting those smaller buses, that mean older bus, just means it's a smaller bus. And so just want to make sure I made that point. I believe those were all of the additions or changes or things that I wanted to point out in the Edgecombe school side of the plan. Now on the Nash side, if you keep on turning, and if you turn to page 11, I believe their page number's at the bottom.
Of the Nash plan?
Yes, sir. And you'll see Nash school plan, the one that's in your agenda packet, still has that watermark there, draft, notifying us draft. Actually sent me this afternoon the final copy without that watermark. I do want to point out something that is different from what's in your agenda packet, and you have a copy of it at your seat. And they still here estimate that under the subheading of physical impact, approximately $3.4 million of federal funding, local or federal funding will follow those students from Nash County schools to Edgecombe schools. But in the latest page, and this is what was adopted by Nash County Board of Commissioners, and I wanted you to see this because this will be a part of the plan. Here is where they add the language that you saw over in the Edgecombe schools plan that talks about that same statement that reads, ECPS and NCPS are working in collaboration with the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, U.S. Department of Education to determine the reasonable fair market value of federally funded assets and how ECPS will acquire selected assets. It's the exact same statement that you saw over in the Edgecombe school. So that was not in Nash's copy that you got, that you saw at the October meeting that I sent to you last week. But I want you to know that that has been added. Everything else in the Nash plan is as you've seen in your agenda packet. I do want to point out on page 18. On page 18 outlines their timeline for enrollment and assignment of students. As you know, those students who live on the Edgecombe County side of Rocky Mount, but there will be 10th through 12th graders who will be given the option to continue going to a high school in Nash County schools. The timeline here specifies, and you'll see April of '24, that they can choose if they want to go ahead and move and transition on over to Edgecombe schools. They don't have to wait. If they don't want to finish out where they started, they can transition on over. But of course, as you know, they need to know that by a certain time so that they can make plans. So that time is April the 1st. So the deadline for parents of those students making that decision is April 1st. If you read the details of the plan, it says information will go out to every student, every household that's affected, giving them more details on the process for that, and they will be notified of that. Actually, it'll go out in January. On that page before you see that goes out in January. But their deadline to make that decision is April of '24. Okay.
How would they know where they would be transitioning to?
They'll be told at that time. I think it will depend on, they'll have some options. They'll either early college or North Edgecombe. So those are the main changes. It was noted that on one particular page that there's a correction that needs to be made where there's a link to a file, a list of the assets that notes list of depreciated assets. So that looks to be something that needs to be corrected instead of using the word depreciation to use fair market value. So my recommendation would be to approve the plan as presented, those changes noted, resolution that you have there, and to authorize Mr. Peters and myself to agree to any minor technical corrections that need to be made. Would that be a fair way to?
Any questions for the manager?
I'm assuming that you satisfied that the verbiage of all these agreements leave us room to question things that we're already questioning to resolve. In other words, it's not open or shut. There's debate about whatever can be done with whatever would come up as an issue.
That's right. I mean, the plan itself describes the plan for transitioning students and assets. There's still decisions, to be made on several things. For you in particular, there's budgetary decisions that are yet to be made.
That was my concern. Should we sign something we don't really know the dollar sign? Especially the federally funded equipment. What we saw was like $900,000. We're going into this. Who's going to decide fair market value? I really would like to know. They could come up with anything if we've already signed it. That's why I'm concerned. Do we have the language correctly to make sure that doesn't happen?
And Mr. Peters, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you approving this does not obligate you to appropriate any funds from this board for anything, even including for those federal assets.
Did you ask about that supplement question I asked you? Did you find out anything?
Yes, I did pass that along, and they're looking into that. Yes, ma'am. I sure did.
Oh, my one other question. In reading the state budget, I noticed $2 million set aside for Nash County for the demerger. Can you give me an explanation of it, and where did I miss Edgecombe's part of it?
That's a good question. Somebody pointed that out to me. I can't tell you how they got $2 million and we didn't.
I know how they got it. I was just wondering why none of our people on that state level questioned why they got it and why Edgecombe didn't get it. It's gonna cost us money just like it's gonna cost them money in this demerger. So it concerned me that our electeds in Raleigh didn't see that when the budget went through, or didn't question it.
Well, I don't think we're in a position to determine whether they question it or not. We were not there, and I believe that they were questioning it and made attempts to get it for us. They just had a political clout to get it. It boils down to, I guess, what the General Assembly, who had the political clout to get it from the powers that be in Raleigh. And I think that's really what happened to this. In terms, I think our representative made some strong efforts to get all the money that they could to support this effort, at least the contact that I was having with them. And sometimes it's not necessarily a public conversation, they just can't get it. And I believe that, just back to your question, you know, that there still are going to be some unanswered, some unanswered questions in this document. But we have met with Mr. Evans, with a representative from Senator Tillis's office, Representative Don Davis, in terms of seeing if whatever we might owe or have any obligation we might have, to see if they can work on some waivers from the department, the federal department, that can waiver that money. And we had an interesting meeting with them, was it last week?
Yes, sir.
So we've not heard back from them yet, but we have had those meetings.
Just a couple of things. Whenever I don't vote to approve something or give a nay, I always like to give some context without having to say it. So one thing here, and it's kind of what everyone else has said here, is this document, the Edgecombe County side is very vague. If you look at these words, it's to determine fiscal availability. We will engage in discussions. We will engage in discussions. We will determine. We will work alongside. In the difference in pay scales, we will determine. We're voting on something, we're approving a document that has not been determined.
No answer.
We have no answer to what is determined. So we're voting on something, and then the things that they're determined, in our school demerger plan for bus coordinators, we are appropriating 4 bus coordinators for Tarboro, North, South, and Rocky Mount. So in our demerger plan, or our merger plan, excuse my language, is we are now organizing bus coordinators throughout the county as opposed to just the merger. And then in this is the first time this has been brought up. We're going to build a bus storage and maintenance facility, but we don't have the ability to service 72 passenger buses. In our document, it says we're getting 65 passenger buses. In Nash County's document, it says we're getting 66 passenger buses.
It's probably an error in there somewhere.
I understand that, but we're voting to approve it. The manager's recommended to approve a document that we're saying has errors in it.
Well, Mr. Thorne, I really think that if we do nothing, we have a merger coming, okay, that's mandated by the General Assembly. I think in this plan that, and the majority of all of this effort in planning is a school board issue more than a county commission issue. I think the things that we have to do, but once it's mandated, we got to fund it anyway, to the level that we can fund it. So it's coming at us anyway, regardless of what this board. We can do no plan and send nothing back, and we got a merger that's coming at us next year. So I guess we can call it a living document in terms of, we really don't know how many students that's in the 10th that will be staying. So the school board really can't give us figures until they get the actual number of students that will be staying. And that's kind of, a number of those students might decide to stay, or those rising seniors and juniors might decide to stay, might decide to go to Edgecombe schools. So I think that's one of the reasons that maybe the plan is written like it is, but I think that a lot of what we're talking about are school board issues in terms of the things that we were expecting them to do. And
I think this reflects back to my question to Mr. Peters, that the language in this is loose enough that anything could be disputed to a degree.
Yes, sir. I think for more context, I don't think the plan was intended to answer every question and allocate every dollar. The plan was put together in accordance with the session law, which was to be done by the school boards in consultation with the counties and submitted by November 15th. And if it's not submitted by November 15th, the state will come up with a plan. In all these meetings we've had the last year, all four boards and staff have worked together very well, but I think the understanding has been to get the best we can do with this plan, knowing that it won't answer every question, and that inevitably more questions will arise in the next year. And it does not commit Edgecombe County or Edgecombe County Schools to fund that federally funded money, for example. That's an unresolved issue that everyone acknowledges is unresolved. And they've made a lot of progress on it, and we're hoping we'll get some answers or get some help from the state or federal government on that. But
I wanted all that resolved before I signed up. That's what my problem was. I wanted all that resolved.
I think that would be ideal, but
The bottom line is, how are we going to appropriate money for what we don't think we can afford?
I think we appropriate what the budget will allow us. We appropriate what the budget will allow us. The bottom line is we're gonna have to appropriate because they're gonna be our school system. The bottom line is we can argue about all of this we want to. This will be our school system. These will be our children. Whether we send any plan beginning of July 1 next year, the school system will be merged.
Okay, for example, Nash County will get $2 million, we're not going to get anything.
Well, the General Center did that. That was out of our hands in terms of that was a General Center appropriation. We had no entitlement to that. That's a political response to some politicians that had the power to do that. And I would say that our people could have asked for it. We don't know. They did get us some money for different things. They got us for what they could.
We got $14.2 million for Kingsborough, so.
I agree with everything you said, but I would like to know the answer to that question, whenever we can get it, if there's any answer.
But we can't spend money we don't have.
And we won't.
What we don't know that we need to have.
Well,
I just felt like
unless
they
they
hold
gonna
out
give it to
words
us.
and didn't tell me anything.
Unless they're going to give it to us.
Are there any other questions or comments?
Do we need $2 million? Is they going to give us $2 million?
No, we're going to have to find it. We are asking different. We are asking the state for money now. We're asking our Congress for money. We don't know what we're going to get. Any other questions or comments? The chair moves to adopt the plan.
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the vote sign aye. Let it be known by a raise of the right hand. All opposed? Motion passed 5-2. Next.
Next item on your agenda, sorry, I'm trying my place.
Consider a resolution.
To recognize Native American Heritage Month.
And I ask you to read that resolution, Mr. Evans?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. If you don't mind, I'd like to stand at the podium to do this.
Please do that. Mr. Herrick, Mr. Evans is a Native American. We're privileged to have him read that resolution.
So it's my honor to stand here at this podium tonight where I'm normally sitting a little bit closer to you. I am a proud member of the Hollowasponi tribe. We're primarily residing in a little community called Holliston, North Carolina, southwest corner of Halifax County and Warren County. We're a little over 4,000 members to our tribe. I believe I'm one of only 2 county managers, Native American county managers in the state, one of your few Native American employees here at Edgecombe County. So it's my honor to stand here, not only because of that, but also because of the rich history that many people here in Edgecombe County don't realize that we have here in our great county. And so we want to recognize that tonight by this resolution, and I'll read it as you have it in your packet. Whereas the Edgecombe County Board of Commissioners acknowledges the rich and diverse history, cultural heritage that has shaped our county, and whereas North Carolina is home to a significant Native American population with historical roots that extend back millennia, and it boasts the largest Native American population east of the Mississippi. Whereas Edgecombe County is steeped in Native American history, and it was once heavily populated by multiple Native American tribes, the most prominent being the Tuscarora Nation. And whereas Native Americans have made and continue to make significant contributions to the social, economic, cultural, and political life of our state and nation, and whereas November has been designated nationally as Native American Heritage Month to recognize and celebrate the rich cultural traditions, contributions, and history of Native American peoples, and whereas it is essential to promote awareness and understanding of the unique heritage, traditions, and challenges faced by Native Americans throughout our nation and indigenous people all around the world. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Edgecombe County Board of Commissioners officially recognizes the month of November as Native American Heritage Month in Edgecombe County, North Carolina, the 6th day of November 2023.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign of aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The resolution is passed.
I do want to point out, and thank you for that so much, I do want to point out that Reverend Higgs, this that you have at your place, he brought this tonight, and he's very knowledgeable of the history of this county, including history of Native people here in the county. So just wanted to recognize him for providing that.
Moving on.
All right. Item 8 is regarding Edgecombe Community College easement agreement. You see the City of Rocky Mount is requesting a utility easement on property used by Edgecombe Community College at their Rocky Mount campus. The proposed easement is on a section of the campus that the county owns and leases for the Biotech Training Center. The easement agreement and related maps are attached. I do want to note that the college has already approved this easement for the portion of the property that they own that this easement will cross. I recommend that you approve the enclosed easement agreement as presented.
Motion?
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign of aye.
Aye.
All opposed, hearing none, it is approved. E, consideration of approval of COVID vaccine fee schedule. You've got it in your schedule. Is there a motion to approve? Second?
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign of aye.
Aye.
All opposed, hearing none, is approved. F, Mr. Evans.
Item F, as you know, we have been in discussion with Nash County for some time regarding a sale of Edgecombe County's 45% interest in the former Edgecombe Nash Mental Health Building property located at 500 Nash Medical Arts Mall in Rocky Mount to Nash County. Nash County owns the remaining 55% of the property. We have come to a negotiated agreement for the sale of the county's interest in the property, where Nash County is willing to pay $2.2 million for Edgecombe County's 45% interest in the property. The current tax value of the property is $4,832,070. Thus, 45% of the current tax value is $2,174,432. County Attorney Michael Peters and I feel that $2.2 million is a reasonable and appropriate sales price considering the tax value of the property, our not having a need to own the property, and the nature of the county's interest limits its value. For historical context, in 1991, Edgecombe County financed $945,000 for its portion of the construction of the building on this property. Therefore, I recommend that you approve the sale of our interest in the building located at 500 Nash Medical Arts Mall in Rocky Mount and authorize Chairman Wiggins to execute the deed and related documents.
Your motion?
Second.
Question? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, it is approved. Next, Ms. Evans.
Next is regarding a request for the naming of the Tar River Bridge. I received a request from Dr. Glenda Knight on behalf of the Princeville Board of Commissioners requesting your support for the naming of the Tar River Bridge between Princeville and Tarboro in honor of the late Mr. Walter Plimmer. A copy of the request is included. This request ultimately must be approved by the NC Transportation Board, but they ask for the support of the local governing body. If you would like to support the request, I will then work with Dr. Knight to submit the application that must be first reviewed by NCDOT staff. If it meets their requirements, I will prepare a resolution for you to consider, which will accompany the application before the Transportation Board. If the board chooses to support this request, I will notify the town of Tarboro, so their board will be aware this request is being submitted.
Motion?
Second.
Question? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, it is approved. Next.
Next is regarding a cell tower lease. As you were made aware at your last meeting, City Switch LLC is proposing to lease property from the county in order to construct and maintain a communications tower. The tower will be located next to the Kingsborough Water Tower. The proposed lease is for $850 per month for an initial term of 10 years with the option to renew for 3 additional 5-year periods. The proposed tower does not meet the setback requirements of our Unified Development Ordinance. City Switch LLC has applied to appear before our Board of Adjustments to get a variance. I recommend that you approve the lease agreement. The construction of the tower will be subject to the approval of the variance from the Board of Adjustment. I do want to acknowledge that I believe we have representatives here from Edgecombe Martin Electric Membership Corporation and perhaps a representative from Kanban Logistics. They are adjoining property owners and I believe may want to speak on this matter, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody here to speak, please come forward. Come forward. Do we have a representative of the tower, of the applicants here? Go ahead, sir.
Thank you for the opportunity. Winston Howell, CEO at Edgecombe Martin EMC. Wanted the opportunity to speak in opposition of the tower that City Switch has proposed. A little history here, as Eric had already mentioned. There was a proposal last year for them to locate the tower just south of the tracks next to the Kanban facility, and that was denied by the Planning and Adjustments Board because the offsets were not in place to meet the requirements at the time. The new proposed site puts it between the county's water tower and our electric substation, which, as you can imagine, is a critical piece of infrastructure that we use to serve around 1,000 of our members in Edgecombe County. We serve approximately 12,000 members across Edgecombe Martin's system. The location that is proposed for the new tower will put it within 100 foot of major distribution lines coming out of our station. We serve several key accounts out of that station. If you remember, we serve the QVC facility out of there. We now serve RQM Investments out of there and several others that are looking to locate. Of further importance is all the attention that we continue to get from requests here in the county, projects looking at the mega site, one of the top mega sites in the state, if not the country, and there could be future expansion needs for that station. So we have grave concerns. Safety and reliability are key to what we do, and we certainly want to make sure that we protect the interest of our members and that station. It's about a $12 million investment we have there, and we want to make sure that we can continue to provide safe and reliable power to our members. We understand that City Switch has stated that this tower is engineered to fall within its footprint if something were to happen. We understand that, can appreciate that, but in our line of work, we engineer and design a lot of things in our system that they don't always work as they're engineered, and that's just how things happen sometimes. We also understand the catastrophic type of weather events that we experience here in our county. We're very familiar with the tornadoes that we experienced here just a few months ago and the damage it caused. So, again, we have some very grave concerns about locating almost a 300-foot tower that close to our substation and the risk that it could impose on our members and our infrastructure. And I certainly hope you will take that into consideration in approving a lease agreement when it doesn't even meet the setback requirements that the commission has already put in place.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Is there anybody else to speak? Anybody else to speak? Hear none?
I received a call about this today too, and I'm a little concerned myself. How urgent is this thing to pass tonight?
Well, for us, is not urgent. To that company, they would probably say that it is, but to us, it's not.
Well, I've got some questions about, not particularly about this gentleman, but anybody coming there and where the location is in relationship to everything else. We put all of our eggs in the basket at Kingsborough, and I wouldn't want to do anything that's going to hinder anybody or hurt anybody in the future until we get some factual information on exactly what has to be done or what should be done or whether it's a good place to put it. Do we have any other land? Or they want that place?
Well, I'll let Mr. Peters follow up. He's had more direct conversation with them, but I think based on the area that they're trying to serve, they have a fairly tight window where they want to locate this tower. Because we did, we presented that to them as well.
As Mr. Evans said, they do apparently have a tight window. They advise us that they get a request, City Switch gets a request from a provider, and that provider gives them, we want a tower in this particular radius. As Mr. Howell said, their original application last year was south of the railroad. It was within the CSX right-of-way, sort of that southwest corner of the intersection, directly south of this proposed location. When they didn't get that variance, they came back to the county interested in this location. They also proposed a location on the northeast side of that intersection further down, which is along the railroad right-of-way of what we call the June Long tract, that lot across from QVC. That was a location they looked at. And that location would be within the right-of-way. It would not be near to any buildings, but it would be a potential hazard to future economic development and spur tracks. We proposed further east, about a mile from the intersection with Kingsborough Road and the railroad track, to where there is a current Unity TV tower, and the county owns a lot that's sort of landlocked. They told us that location was too far away from their target area. After conversations recently with EMC, we proposed some of the land directly behind the QVC property, and we're told the same thing, that was too far away. So apparently the radius, the target area they're looking at, is very narrow. So that's what we did offer, from our perspective, other locations, but they kept coming back to this very tight window at the intersection.
This is our land, right?
This is county-owned land, yes, sir.
So all three, we have a water tower beside it that should be of concern about a tower falling on our water tower. EMC has expressed that that station right now supplies 1,000 people. And we have concern about it falling on there and taking power out for 1,000 people. Plus the expansion need with having to go over 400 megawatts for some of these projects that we're looking at. They're obviously going to have to expand that substation. So that's a natural area that they'll have to expand anyway. And the other property owner, private property owner, Kanban, has expressed concern about the tower being beside it. So everyone around them has expressed concern about that.
May I ask a question?
Go ahead.
May I ask Mr. Tolson and Mr. Pike, we rely on you guys quite a bit. Simple question here, do we want a tower placed in a place that we're trying to develop big time? And I don't mean to put you guys on the spot.
You just did.
Yeah, that's all
right. You just did.
Now that you have Commissioner Webb. By the way, I had to introduce Ralph Dawson to my staff today. They kept saying, we don't have anybody named Dawson on the committee. You know, today, I didn't know about this tower until today, but all the arguments against this tower I've heard tonight, I completely support. We are going to have to expand the electrical capacity at Kingsborough. And if it impinges on the current site that Winston just described to you, then I strongly oppose this tower. And a 300-foot tower out there, where I think you're talking about putting that tower, it may not be very acceptable to our client base either. So unfortunately, I understand that these people may need a tower, but we don't want to also mess up a 2,200 acre mega site.
And to that point, Mr. Chairman, if I could say, and first of all, I think this discussion is important because you all have very difficult decisions to make. You need to be as well informed as you can. Sometimes these decisions are not clear cut. The recommendation I'm bringing to you, and I believe Mr. Peters and I agree in this recommendation, was not easy for us. But we have to balance out all of these things. Part of the reason that we're making this recommendation, as Mr. Peters mentioned, if you imagine if you're standing facing north, railroad track in front of you, can band to your left, water tower here just in front of you diagonally, and then this land here over to your right. That's the long track, very valuable track. This particular company, right now, other than what they originally tried to present, which was not approved, they're interested in either what we're proposing tonight or just east of Kingsborough Road, along the right-of-way of the railroad, and that it would be south of that long track. Our concern was we wanted to try to steer it away from that because, as Mr. Peters mentioned, they were considering something in the right-of-way, not land that we own, so as far as they would need no lease agreement for us. They would still have to go back to the Board of Adjustments for that variance. But there's a possibility that the Board of Adjustments would approve that. We absolutely do not want a tower north of the railroad track and east of Kingsborough Road because at some point Norris and Bob and IPI may bring a project in and that project say, I need a rail spur off CSX Railroad, and that tower is in the way. It makes sense to me that if there's a possibility a tower is going to be erected within that vicinity, to put it within the footprint of other utilities. And I totally understand concern of that falling. We have to rely on recommendation, information given to us by engineers. We do that all the time in other projects. And so I do also, to the point that Edgecombe would not have room to expand. If you're looking at your the map in your agenda packet, where you see the proposed site, you'll see in the blue area, that's property that the county owns. To the right of that round circle, that's the tower. To the left of that is that square box there, that's the property that EMC's substation is on. You can see behind that's land. It's covered in trees right now. That's land that the county owns that they could potentially expand in that direction. So I say, I put all of this on the table to weigh because, I'm not making this recommendation just because this company came and asked for it. We thought through all of these things. Certainly, I just want to clarify that position, my recommendation to you. Certainly, I understand this is not an easy decision to make, and happy to support. We will support whatever decision that you make.
May I ask a question?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
This is the first I've heard of this tower. What's the urgency on the cell tower?
This company wants to build it, and they want to build it as soon as they can.
And why? Why they just, is there a demand for the service this tower is going to provide? Yeah, okay.
Well, I guess we depend on, as we do others, evidently their market research has determined that, and I think we do need additional towers in the area for reception in our area. So, I look at staff recommendations, and when they come, is that they've done the necessary research, as I do for you. When you bring recommendations to this board,
sir,
and we depend on what you say, okay? So, my motion is to approve.
Can I make a comment? So now we've had our economic developers.
Excuse me just a minute. My motion fails for lack of second. Go ahead. Go ahead.
We've had a comment from our economic developer that he either wants to see more about it or needs to deny it outright. And he has not been involved in the conversation. So we've talked about the expansion of a mega site, but we didn't involve our economic developer.
He's not usually involved in what comes through here. A commissioner involved him. He is not usually involved in commission decisions except for his economic development. He was invited. Now, I'm not saying, my motion to approve failed. So that's gone, okay? So it's up to the board in terms of what they want to do. Is there any other motion to come before the board?
I would motion that we do not approve this.
There's a motion to not approve, and there's a second. All in favor, let it be known by the vote sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? One opposition. Motion fails. Next.
Next is item, attachment 13, item I, regarding amendment to cooperative agreement between North Carolina Department of Public Safety. For time's sake, basically what's happening here is, we have received money in the past, federal funds that run through the State Department of Public Instruction for a federal buyout program, flooded properties eligible to be purchased. Once those properties are purchased and cleared, then the county takes ownership of that vacant lot, and we have to maintain it as open space. We did that after Floyd, Matthew, and so now the State Department of, now the Office of Recovery and Resiliency has another buyout program, federal funds, but funded through another stream of federal funds. And they directly are administering buyout-like program. They're calling them buyout zones. So they've identified some areas in the county, part of town of Princeville, some outside of town of Pine Tops, a couple of small areas where people are eligible. It's a voluntary program. They can participate. What the state is asking us to do tonight is to amend that original cooperative agreement that we have with the state, where we will then agree that any of those properties that they purchase, we will take ownership if it's in the unincorporated areas and maintain them as open space. And so that's the amendment to the cooperative agreement. And you'll see there's a listing of all of the properties that are eligible, that are within those buyout zones. They might not all get bought out. They likely won't all get bought out. But this will be an amendment to that agreement where we will accept those properties. The second part of this is that resolution to accept strategic buyout program properties. And what this will do is by this resolution, it will authorize me to then accept each of those properties as they are bought out, if they are bought out. So there will be deeds that will be signed, transferred to the county. So that will authorize me to accept those properties that are bought out. So first recommendation is to approve the First Amendment to the cooperative agreement with the North Carolina Department of Public Safety.
Who makes that? Anybody make that motion?
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign aye. Aye. All opposed? Hearing none, it is approved. Next, Ms. Evans.
Second part of that is to approve the resolution to accept strategic buyout program properties.
Second. Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, it is approved. Next.
Next is regarding our compensation plan. As we've continued to review our new compensation plan, we've identified additional corrections and additions to be made. Attached is a summary of those changes which present no additional appropriation needed to the budget. I recommend that you approve the updated compensation plan ordinance as presented.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign aye. Aye. All opposed? Hearing none, it is approved. Next.
Item K is regarding our public records policy update. Basically, in the policy that you all approved back in 2019, it specifically says that a public records request must be submitted on a form that we provide as part of our new, relatively new policy. What happens is sometimes you'll have an entity that may say email Mr. Peters or Ms. Lewis requesting information as publicly available. But because our policy says that it has to be, that request has to be on that form, then they have to send it to them and say, take all of the information, just put it on this form. And that's a duplicated effort. It's not necessary. As long as they have the information that we need and require for that public records request, we feel it to be fine to not have to use that policy, not have to use that form. And so you'll see that in the recommended change to the policy, you'll see on pages 9 and 10, it removes the requirement that the request be on our form. Also on page 11, additional information is provided to specify the fee we charge for processing extraordinarily large requests. On page 14, a formatting issue is corrected. I recommend that you approve as presented. I want to acknowledge Ms. Teresa Lewis for her going through the document and making those recommended changes.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign of aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, it is approved. Next.
Next is regarding your schedule of values for the 2024 revaluation. As you know, at your last meeting, you held a public hearing and presented was a schedule of values to be used for the 2024 revaluation. What we need tonight is two separate actions. Recommend first that you take action to approve the market value as presented at the October meeting. And the second motion then will be to approve the present use value that was as previously presented.
The first motion, given.
First motion will be to approve the market value schedule as presented.
Motion?
So moved.
Second. Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign of aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, it is approved. Next, Ms. Evans.
Second motion will be to approve the schedule of values for present use value as presented.
You make your motion?
I motion.
Second.
I'll second it.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign of aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, it is approved. Next.
Item M is regarding, two of Sheriff's staff are retiring soon. As you know, state statute allows the board to award a retiring officer his or her service weapon. It specifically states that you may do so at a price determined by you as the governing body. Sheriff Atkinson has requested the consideration be given for retiring Captain Charles West and Sergeant David Parker. To show the county's appreciation for their exemplary service and to provide a memento to that service, I recommend that you approve the transfer of their service weapons at a price of $1 upon the retirement of Captain Charles West and Sergeant David Parker.
So moved. Second. Question. All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign of aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, it is approved.
I was just making sure they weren't here tonight to recognize them.
Go right ahead, Ms. Evans.
Item N is your holiday schedule for 2024, and it does follow our ordinance, personnel policy.
Is there a motion to approve the holiday schedule? Second. Question. All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign of aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, it is approved. Next.
Next is regarding a grant that Carpet Extension will receive from NC State. We've received notice that NC State is through the Ag Ventures program is approving $4,967 for the purchase of an enclosed trailer. This does require a 15% match, but that will be covered by funds already appropriate that Carpet Extension already has, so no additional appropriation is needed. I recommend that you approve the enclosed grant project ordinance as presented.
Motion.
Motion.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign of aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, it is approved. Next is appointments. We have appointments to our Park and Recreation Advisory Board. They are, I guess, Ms. Sheila Cook, Bernice Anderson, Regina Mosley, Sue Howard, Lorraine Dickens, Curtis Knight. These are reappointments. Is there a
These are
motion?
reappointments.
These are reappointments. Is there a motion to reappoint?
Second.
Question. All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign of aye.
Aye.
All opposed, hearing none. I saw no jury commission.
You have Mr. Reuben
I didn't see
Thompson
that.
IV, who's eligible for
I didn't see that in my, okay. What is done in my book? Go ahead.
Mr. Reuben Thompson IV, and he's eligible for reappointment.
Is there a motion?
Second.
Question. All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign of aye.
Aye.
All opposed, hearing none, he's reappointed. After list and releases for review and approval, Mr. Evans, anything to be brought to our attention?
No, sir. Happy to answer any questions that you
Is there a motion to approve? Second. Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign of aye.
Aye.
All opposed, hearing none, it is approved. Contracts for review and approval, anything to be brought to the board's attention, Mr. Evans?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I do need you to take separate action on a couple of these tonight. So first, you have a change order to an existing contract with Envirocon. This will be to add, and this company provides security key fob access in our building. This will be to add access and security controls at our Emergency Operations Center. No additional budget appropriation is needed, but I do recommend that you separately approve that change order.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign of aye.
Aye.
All opposed, hearing none, it is approved. Now, what is it?
It was more just, is that our last building, like county administration building to do that?
Do we have other buildings that would still need fob access?
Part of this, we would love to have it on all our EMS stations. The problem is you have to have county internet available for all of that. So we have to get that there first before we can pursue.
Any other questions? Anybody else? Did I get the
Contract.
any more contracts? Anything?
Yes, sir. The second one, did he get a vote?
I got a vote. What else was it?
The second one is Prime Corrections. This is a not-to-exceed contract, not to exceed $200,000. Note that this is paid through savings found in medical billing for jail health services. This company services cost containment services for medical services at the detention center. Captain Oliver Washington, who's Sheriff's Jail Administrator, is here tonight. He may be able to share a little bit more about this company and what they provide. If you do approve this, I recommend part of your approval be as a sole source vendor.
Is there a motion to approve this as a sole source vendor?
So moved.
Now, I can let you talk, but you're getting ready to approve it. You want to comment?
Oh, y'all want
Sometimes you talk yourself out of it, okay? Okay. All in favor, let it be known by the vote sign aye. Aye. All opposed, hearing none, it is approved. Sometimes people do talk themselves out of it, okay?
Smart man. And then the last one is with Avenian. This is a company that provides GIS addressing software. This also is a request for sole source contract. This vendor provides an addressing solution that is the most compatible with our GIS system, which is why we recommend this sole source, $3,750.
Motion? Question? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed, hearing none, it is approved. That's all the contracts.
That's all contracts, yes, sir.
Departmental reports, water and sewer, you got it in your report. Monthly financial summary, any questions of the manager? Hearing none, let's go to the manager's report. Go ahead, Ms. Evans.
You have major events and updates, workforce development indicators, and TDA financial report. Happy to answer any questions that you might have. I do want to give some attention to item D, update on tornado storm debris cleanup. For all of the vegetative and C&D debris that was placed along the right-of-way, all of that directly related to the July tornado, all of that has been picked up, taken to the landfill, and as of just the last couple of days, all of that vegetative debris that was taken to the landfill has been grinded up. So that's part of the process. Still waiting on final invoices from the company, and once we get that, I'll come back and share with you the tonnage that we received on that. As you know, the next step to that is, we've been told we're going to receive some funds from the state for demolition and clearing of properties that's not on the right-of-way. There were some properties that were destroyed or significantly destroyed that can't be brought to the right-of-way. We expect to receive some funding from the General Assembly appropriation, and what we've been told, an amount of $300,000, that we will have this contractor then go on site for those that were directly affected to demolish and clear that which is remaining. So, waiting to hear on that. One of the pieces of business related to that tornado, on the day of it, reached out to Chairman Wiggins, and as he has the authority to do, he declared a state of emergency. We've never ended that state of emergency. I think we're okay to end that now. So I do recommend that the board take action tonight to end the state of emergency related to the July tornado event.
Let me ask one question before we do that. In terms of, we're sure that all the debris has been picked up. We're comfortable with that.
All of the debris that has been brought to the right-of-way, direct related to the storm.
Have we, what is the end date for that? The end date for the contractor picking up the debris, that we're saying that's ended?
That's done. For anything that was brought to the right-of-way, that's done, yes, sir.
I guess what I'm getting at is, do we need a date for the public to know that we are ending that?
We let the people who are affected know directly.
Okay.
That's right. Since it was so targeted and we knew all of those addresses, we let them know directly.
Okay, now, will we need a motion to end the state of emergency?
Yes, sir.
Is a motion to end the state of emergency?
So moved.
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed, hearing none, the state of emergency is now ended.
Thank you.
Mr. Wiggins, I
Go
have a question.
Go right ahead.
Mr. Evans, I see on October 31st, you met with Sheriff and Town Manager of Tarboro in regards to the animal shelter. Still no, let me go back. Did Mr. Lewis offer any words of dollar figures to you in regards to support for that?
No, sir. He did express that the town is still interested in participating, still defining what that might look like. He's going to go back. I shared with him our estimate right now for where we are is $4 million, $775,000 that we already have in hand from last year's state appropriation we can use for that. I mentioned to you before recommending that we use $1 million of proceeds from the sale of this building to go towards that, then the balance of that to borrow from USDA Rural Development's Community Facilities Program. That's likely the best terms that we can get.
Yes.
So shared all of that with them, with Mr. Lewis. He's going to go back and discuss with his board and see where they might be with that. Next step for us, though, is for Mr. Matthews and Stan, our maintenance director, and Chief Deputy Williams and other staff members, who was a whole committee that was involved. They just recently made a few more last tweaks to the plan, the building plan, and so now we're going to have the architect to draw up the bid documents so that we can go ahead and bid that out. Our goal is to try to bid that out before the end of December so we can get some hard and fast bid numbers. We would have to have that anyway for USDA if we go to them for that. So that'll be the next step in the animal shelter.
I heard some very excited citizens about the plans that were there, and it seemed they were encouraged and been involved the entire time. So,
and we've been keeping the our Animal Welfare Advisory Council updated on where we are with that as well.
Question. Should Tarboro vote not to financially engage, do they take their animals, keep their own animals?
At their current shelter, yes, ma'am. I would suspect that's what they would do. Last thing on the manager's report, I don't have it listed, but I do want to point out, as mentioned earlier, you have a copy of a letter at your place. We were recently notified that East Point, Trillium, and Sand Hills Managed Care Organization, or MCO, areas are going to merge. It looks like that this is the word from the Secretary of Department of Health and Human Services, that The plan is to consolidate those three areas. There's still, some work to be done. That's different, as you know, that's different from what we had heard before. What we had last heard, there was a plan for East Point to merge with Sand Hills region. Now, that will now include Trillium. Been told the expectation is that East Point is going to be the lead entity in that. But, there's a lot to be done, and I guess we'll wait and see how that pans out. So that's all I have under management.
Anything from commissioners?
Oh, I just wanted to thank Mr. Wiggins for the resolution on behalf of my mother-in-law. This may be, we lost her October 30th at the age of 104. So we have been gifted with plenty of time with her. And just a year ago, in this chamber, she was honored as one of the oldest in Edgecombe County, along with two other ladies over 100 years old. And so we appreciate Mr. Webb, Mr. Hines, and all of you for your thoughts and prayers for us. My husband, who is the youngest child, had to eulogize her on Saturday, which was her official birthday, we found out, from Halifax County. We had been celebrating in October, but finally got a copy of her birth certificate, which says November 4th, 1990. But anyway, 104 years well lived. So thank you for your consideration and for being there for me. It really surprised me, and I really appreciate it.
Any other commissioners?
Just one comment. Medical grades came out today for hospitals throughout the state, and Biden received an A for patient safety, which is a great success. We're very lucky to have that facility here in Edgecombe County, and they do a lot of great work for us. So just a little recognition for them. Yes,
And Commissioner Storms had his first child. Congratulations.
thank you.
Okay.
Happy, healthy boy and mama.
Reverend Hines said your wife had it. Okay. Are there any other comments from the board? Hearing none. Mr. Peters?
No, sir.
At this time, ladies and gentlemen, we normally go into closed session. We'll be going in closed session to discuss an economic development matter. Is there a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second? Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign of aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you so much.
I want
Thanks
to
for staying.
have some news before March of 2024.
Come change some
I want us
diapers
to have
tonight.
news of something before March of 2024.
Ride this wave with me.
And then when you got the rest to go on, you do it.
I'll fill up the bottle for you. Change the diaper and feed them.
We're back on, we're in open, is there anything that come in open session? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Look here, I had 6 move. And take either one of them we want for second.
Did you look at?
All in favor, let me know by voting sign aye.
Did you look at possibly starting the 6 o'clock meeting? So
We said we'd do that in January.
4,
That-
2 o'clock.
That'll be on the agenda, that'll be on your December agenda to change it.
When I first got up here, we were coming in the middle of the day.
No, we were together with another session.